Good afternoon. During the declared emergency in the City of Toronto, Committee of Adjustment virtual public hearings are being conducted via WebEx, an online digital platform, and will be live streamed on the Toronto City Planning YouTube channel. These measures are necessary to comply with physical distancing requirements and a provincial order that limits attendance at public gatherings. My name is Nancy Oman and I will be chairing this hearing. Panel members participating via WebEx and who can be seen and heard are Yin Chan, Zahir Bayat, and Larry Clay. City staff will be assisting us throughout the meeting, including moderating the WebEx platform. Agents, applicants, and other interested parties participating in this virtual hearing registered in advance and will be connecting through WebEx using a compatible electronic device. Their participation will be through audio only. We acknowledge that the land we are meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and it is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. In accordance with Sections 45 and 53 of the Planning Act 1990 as amended, this meeting of the Committee of Adjustment for the City of Toronto is called to order. The Committee of Adjustment considers applications for variances from the provisions of the zoning bylaw that apply to the property, permission to extend or alter lawful non-conforming uses, and consent to sever property to create new lots. Anyone who wants to receive a copy of the committee's decision for an application must submit a written request by email to the general email address for the Committee of Adjustment, Toronto and East York District Office. Please include your name, address, and an email address. All Committee of Adjustment and TLAB notifications and appeal updates will be sent by email only. If you do not agree with the decision of the committee, decisions may be appealed to the Toronto local appeal body known as TLAB, or in some limited circumstances to the local planning appeal tribunal known as LPAT. Appeal instructions will be set out at the bottom of the committee's decision. Participants who have registered in advance will be connected to this virtual hearing and will be muted automatically upon entry. When your item is called, each participant will be unmuted by the moderator, one person at a time. I will call each item in the order listed on the agenda. Where an application is uncontested, the agent or applicant may proceed with their presentation if desired. When the committee does not require a presentation, applicants are to advise the chair should they wish to speak to the committee. The committee may ask questions and/or take the matter into committee for a decision. Each speaker, including the applicant or agent, will be given a maximum of 5 minutes to address the committee. I will comment when you're reaching the 5-minute mark. When addressing the committee, please speak slowly and clearly state your name and address. Please confine your remarks to the matters outlined in the application. Where required, the applicant or agent will proceed first with a presentation of the application. Then, individuals either in support or opposed to the application will be invited to speak. Committee members may ask questions of each speaker after they have completed their presentation. When all speakers are finished, the applicant or agent will be unmuted and will have an opportunity to rebut only those issues that were raised by the speakers. This will mark the end of the discussion and the application will be taken into committee for a decision. Please note, the committee may not entertain revisions to proposals at the hearing today. The committee may decide to defer the application if substantially revised to ensure the revised application is accurate and that all those entitled to notice are informed of the changes. Are there any minutes to be confirmed in this meeting, Madam Deputy Secretary Treasurer?
No, they were done at the morning's hearing.
Okay, thank you. Panel members or staff, do any of you have an interest to declare for this afternoon session? Seeing none? No? Okay.
No.
All right. Madam Deputy Secretary Treasurer, are you aware of any requests to close or withdraw an application?
Not this afternoon.
Okay, thank you. All right. Item number 1, 22 Balsam Avenue. Panel members, we have before us a copy of the plan of survey, side plan, floor plans, and elevations. We have a staff report from Forestry. They're asking for condition number 2, 3 form letters in support, signed by 14, 18A, 20, and 20.5 Balsam Avenue, as well as 49 McLean Avenue. Concern was expressed by the resident at 95 and 18 Balsam Avenue. Correspondence in opposition from 40, 42, 20, and 24 Balsam Avenue. And I believe some of the concerns were regarding a tree to be protected that's in front and blockage of light as well as massing. Okay, I'm showing 2 speakers. Are they both on the line? Okay. Is the agent there?
Yes, I'm here.
Hi.
I'm Kathleen Garrido. Hi.
Alrighty, so can you have 5 minutes and we'll start the clock now because I do have 2 speakers in opposition listed.
Thank you. Good afternoon, and thank you all for being here today. My name is Kathy Garrido, and I am the architect for the home at 22 Balsam. I am here on behalf of the owners who are longtime beach residents. They are starting a family and would like to build a new home on this property. We have worked very hard to design a home that fits the fabric of the neighborhood, meets with the planning guidelines, and also complies with urban forestry rules. We have already obtained the necessary permits from urban forestry for the property and started all of these processes early, knowing what we would be having to do to obtain permission to build on this property. In order to meet my client's long-term needs, we are before you today to ask for 2 minor variances to the zoning bylaw. We're asking for an increase in GFA and relief from the side yard setback requirement on the south side. When designing this home, we researched what is typical in the neighborhood and what minor variances have been granted previously. There were 47 applications that we researched. Of those, 42 of them were approved with an average density of 0.85. 5 applications were refused, and all of which had an FSI requested of over 1.22. For the closest comparables, there were 6 approved with an average density of 0.85 and a median of 0.84. The only one that was denied was referred to in a letter sent in by one of the neighbors on file. That was at 34 Balsam. That application requested 0.89, but along with that, 8 other variances, which made the application appear not so minor. We approached the neighbors in this area early on in the process. We actually sent letters out and invited them to speak with us about my client's plans. We have spoken with the neighbors on either side of us, behind us, and some others on the street. As you're aware, some have sent in letters. We are aware of all of their concerns and we have done whatever we can to try and accommodate them. I would like to briefly address some of the concerns that are listed in those letters. The neighbors to 24 Balsam are located directly to the north of us. They expressed a concern about the sunlight to the second floor deck at the front of their home. That's actually shown, if you look at the site plan that's visible on your screen, there's a little white square directly north of the building that we are speaking about. That's the location of their second floor deck. Our original plans had the front of this house in line with the front yard setback, which is equivalent to the average of the setbacks on either side of us. After discussing with our neighbor the plans that we have in front of you, they expressed their concerns about this, and we agreed to move the front of the building back by 2 feet. This also slightly reduced the floor space index. We are unable to move the building any further back for 2 reasons. As you can see on the plan, there is a very large mature tree in the back, which we would like to maintain. It's a beautiful, beautiful old tree. As well, the building depth is measured from the front yard setback, so if we move the building further back, it would trigger additional variances, something we've been trying to avoid. Those neighbors also mentioned their concern about the side yard setback, currently being 9 inches. This is not correct as the survey shows. The existing house at 22 Balsam is 0.42 meters at its closest point. The new house will be 0.6 meters, which is the requirement from the zoning bylaw. Their house averages between 0.66 and 0.88, so there will be a little bit more than 4 feet between the 2 houses once the new house is built. They would also like us to downsize the width and the height. We are building as of right with respect to the building height. My clients would like to have a 2.5-story home, which is what many other houses on the street are. They have also asked us, and this was the biggest ask, to flip the design, putting the garage on the north side. Unfortunately, this would require us to remove a large mature city tree in the front yard, a tree which we quite like. We inquired with urban forestry and were told that removing this tree would be rejected outright. Maybe we could get approval through some avenue of appeal, but other neighbors have also sent in letters saying that they specifically want this tree to stay. And as I mentioned, that is our preference as well. A few of the other neighbors have addressed some concerns about the floor space index. As mentioned, precedent has already been set, and this application is very much in keeping with what has been approved in the neighborhood. As a lifetime beach resident, my clients know that these applications can be a source of friction and that respecting the neighborhood aesthetic is important. So we strongly considered this prior to the design of this building and made sure that we were in keeping with what's appropriate for the area.
Can I ask you to wrap up? You're over
Yes.
5 minutes, thanks.
Okay. Yeah, that was pretty much it. I was just going to say, in conclusion, we believe that the variances we are requesting is minor and meet the 4 tests under the Planning Act, and as such are asking for approval for our application.
Okay, thank you. Panel members, do you have questions now, or do you want to hold them till you hear from the opposition? Yim, did you want to ask a question now?
Maybe I should wait till others speak. I wait.
You're going to wait? Okay. All right. Mr. Chang, are you on the line?
Yes.
Hi. Can you just identify yourself, name and address for the record, please?
Yeah, my name is Robert Chang Heathcote. I'm here with my wife. We are the owner of 24 Balsam Avenue, the immediate north neighbor to 22 Balsam Avenue.
All right, you have 5 minutes, sir. Go ahead.
Thank you. Good afternoon. 24 Balsam Avenue is a semi-detached, legal 3-unit dwelling. Our windows for every room in this house, top to bottom, faces south. Essentially, the hallway is to the north. That accesses each room. So that is 80% of the natural light into the house. And we are objecting to the application for the minor variance regarding the proposed dwelling for 22 Balsam Avenue, Toronto, Ontario. Our reasons are the permitted maximum floor space index is 0.06 times the area of the lot, which is 264.4 square meters. The proposed floor space index is 0.84 times the lot, 0.5 square meters. This represents an increase of 42% of the allowable square meter build. In your own Committee of Adjustment brochure, considering minor variances, you have an example. The maximum permitted height for this building is 10 meters. The altered building is proposed to have a height of 10.5 meters. That is within your example of a minor variance. This is not the 106 square meters, 42% over the allowable amount, is not within the minor variance. So for that reason, it should be rejected, the application for the minor variance. Secondly, the proposed 106 square meters of increased floor space is basically the 3rd floor, along with the proposed dwelling height of 12 meters. These 2 items substantially impact our property in that it blocks virtually all natural light from 80% of the south side of our dwelling. So we would have no natural light throughout the entire day in any of the rooms except for the rear kitchens on the 2nd and 1st floor. And once again, I refer to your brochure. with shade and shadow is a consideration for not approving this application. So we, on that grounds, want it rejected as well. And it certainly will have a negative impact on our property. If you can imagine, all day long, there's no natural sunlight, but only in your kitchen. Not a very good thing. And we also have an issue with the 0.6 north side setback. The minimal side yard setback should be 0.9 meters. And because of they're so close to blocking our windows, we believe that extra 0.3 of a meter could possibly shed some light back into the building, and mine is taking away the third floor as well. So I think they're just way over the top, and we are requesting that you decline this application as the way it is presented. And even in their zoning, it calls for a 0.9 meter setback in the zoning notice. So we are asking that you do not approve this application.
Okay,
That's all.
thank you, Mr.
Thank
Chang.
you.
Panel members, do you have a question of the speaker? Seeing none? Okay, the next speaker. Is this person also speaking for 24, do you know? Mr. Chang Heathcote, are you there?
Yeah.
Yes.
Hi, are you speaking for the same address, sir? Because I'm showing.
Yes, I am.
Okay,
Yes.
we usually only have one speaker per address, so I'll give you,
Okay.
I'll give you 2.5 minutes, sir. It's the
Well,
clock.
I-
So
I'm
if you
pretty
can
good,
just
just-
identify yourself for the record, please.
Okay, my name is Darryl Chang Heathcote, son of Robert and Yuki Chang Heathcote, the current owners of 24 Balsam Avenue,
Okay?
north neighbor to 22 Balsam Avenue.
All right, so we'll start, the clock started, so go ahead.
After reviewing the site plans and minor variance requests outlined in the application, I would like it to be known at this time that I am against the proposed site plans for the following reasons. The requested 40% increase over the allowable maximum floor space, in my opinion, is not considered minor at all. The additional 110 square meters in what appears to be the third floor will directly impact our property by way of completely overshadowing us and preventing the enjoyment of natural light into our house. Although the third floor falls within the allowable height of 12 meters, the additional floor space does not and will have an irreversibly negative impact on our property. I also agree with our neighbors on Balsam and echo their sentiments that if the committee grants the request to increase the allowable floor space, this will set a precedence for future requests and move the goalpost for what is considered a minor variance, and at which point, where do we draw the line for what is considered minor versus major? 24 Balsam Avenue has been in our family for over 30 years, and I have every intention of keeping it for my two daughters and their legacy. Although I'm not opposed to a new structure, I ask the committee to consider what it constitutes as minor variance to ensure that it is fair to all parties that will be impacted by the decision, and that decision does not result in us losing our right to the enjoyment of our property. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Panel members, do you have any questions of the speaker? No? If I could have the agent back. And Yim, do you want to ask your question before the agent rebuts? Are you there, Ms.
Yes, I do.
Ms. Garrido, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, so the panel member will just ask a question then.
Yes, I would like to look at your drawings, the plans, the second and the third floor plans.
Yes?
Because there also their opposition about the side yard setbacks. So I was looking at those spaces, whether it is going to impact your design too much. But when I look at these two drawings, they are not labeled. I'm not too sure how many bedrooms on the second
Sure.
floor. And then the bathroom. So I was considering whether it will, if you sort of move in a bit, like a foot, reduce the width, will impact your design or not, but it's not labeled at all, those the room. So,
Yes.
so how many bedrooms altogether, the second and third floor and bathrooms?
There are 4 bedrooms
Okay.
altogether. On the
Okay.
second floor, there are 3 bedrooms, 1 shared bathroom for the 2 bedrooms at the rear. There's a bedroom at the front that has a small ensuite bathroom, and there's a laundry room on that floor. So that
bedrooms on the second floor and on the third floor?
the third floor has the master suite with a
Okay.
bedroom, a closet, and a small home office at the front.
Oh, I see.
So, which is now, as we all know, more needed than ever.
No, it's only because I should have been labeled so that we can understand your proposal more. It's more clear.
Yes,
And at the moment, you just see a whole bunch of rooms, right?
true.
And I thought that since there's a complaint and concern, and also you are actually asking for side setback variance, and I thought that maybe we can consider whether it will not compromise your design too much. That's all my question. Okay, thank you.
Yes, the side yard, can I just comment that the side yard setback we're asking for is on the south side, and we did that to accommodate the parking. So we tried to comply with, the north, one side needs to be 0.6, the other is supposed to be 0.9. And so
Yeah.
we opted to have the reduced setback where we have the single level garage because it has the least amount of impact in that location. And we did negotiate that with the neighbors to the south to ensure that they still had access to the rear of their property.
Oh, yeah, I understand, I understand that. Actually, you did leave a little bit more room on the north side, but given that it's new build, and I thought that if the south side labeled have 0.6
Yes.
setback, I thought that maybe if they're concerned, maybe you can also give a little bit, at least the same as your label. But this is only my way of thinking whether we will make some kind of compromise. But you answer my question on it. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Before the agent rebuts to the opposition, any other questions, panel members? No? Okay, Ms. Garrido, so just, if you can just speak to the issues that were raised.
Sure. We, as I just mentioned, we located our building such that we are at 0.6 from the north property line, and the reduced setback is on the south, so that the smaller portion of the building is the part that needed the variance. We also kept with a pitch roof to respect that and move most of the third floor back, condensing it kind of in the middle. As the sun moves to the west, the rear of the neighbor's property does continue to get sun, and we were trying to be very respectful of that. If that building to the north of us was to be rebuilt, the windows on the side of his property would not be permitted where they are. They're actually closer to the property line on that side than is currently permitted by the building code, which requires 4 feet. So we have no windows on our side walls on that side, both to maintain their privacy and of course for fire control. So we did our best. Unfortunately, there's very little you can do when you're directly south of somebody about that situation, but we have done our best to try and move the building in a position that minimizes that impact as much as we can.
Okay, thank you. Panel members, do you have any further questions? Mr. Clay, go ahead.
Just a quick, I'm just looking at that site plan and just want to confirm, it looks like your building setback from the main street is less than or further back from the street than the adjacent north. Is that correct? And I think
That is correct.
I think I heard you say that your original plans were 2 feet further, and you've reduced that by about 2 feet from your original plans. Is that correct?
That's correct. After Mr. Heathcote came to us and said that he was concerned that we were going to block all the light from that front balcony, we moved the building, we tried to compress the building as much as we could, so we actually moved it back 2 feet. We would have moved it back further, but for the tree at the backyard. So that was our limiting factor there. We just couldn't push it anymore without harming the tree.
Okay, great, thank you.
Any further questions, panel members? Okay, seeing none, we'll take it into committee. Any comments?
Chair, I'm happy to start. I'll kick it off. I was looking at this one. This application is pretty close to being as of right. The two variances, in my estimation, are actually quite minor. The setback is to the south, so it doesn't have much of an impact on the building to the north, and the owner has outright tried to accommodate the northern neighbor by moving the building site back. I think is a commendable thing. The design of this building was in keeping with kind of eclectic look that is in the beaches that we see often. I didn't think the FSI was egregious at all. Again, this is a neighborhood with increasingly large homes because of its location. I would be supportive of this application.
Okay, Ms. Chan?
Okay, I'd like to just jump in. I agree with most of what Larry has analysis, but I also sort of, because the concerns, I've tried to see whether the side yard setback can decrease a little bit. But looking at it from the beginning, I already think that they did try to keep about 3 feet clear distance from the south labor anyway, and it's very standard for this kind of infill housing in the area. And I think the variance is minor, and I would be supporting it too.
Okay, if there are no further comments, then I'm happy to take a motion.
Sure, I'll move the motion, Chair, if that's okay. I move approval of this application. I believe forestry condition number 2 applies in this instance, so I'll move approval.
Okay, I have a motion to approve, moved by Mr. Clay, seconded by Mr. Bayat. All in favor? Applications approved, including forestry condition number 2. Okay, thank you, everyone. The next item is 257 Torrens Avenue. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, a covering letter from Mr. Palumbo, the applicant, as well as planning rationale from Mr. Palumbo. We have email correspondence from traffic planning, transportation services. They don't have any concerns. We have opposition from 252 and 267 Torrens, and I have listed one speaker. Do we have the speaker? Okay. Can I have the agent please identify himself for the record?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the committee and Committee of Adjustment staff. It's Andrew Palumbo of MHBC Planning. I'm the planning agent for 257 Torrens.
Okay, you have 5 minutes. We have one speaker, and we'll start the clock now.
All right. Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll be very brief. This is a pretty straightforward application that's proposing to basically convert the existing locker room on the ground floor of a 3-story rental building to make way for a 1-bedroom rental unit. So this proposal will be adding a 1-bedroom rental unit to the existing building. As a result of that, there's basically, because these are only internal modifications that are being proposed as a result of this proposal. Firstly, as for the highlights on the screen, under section 51 sub 2A and 1 and 2 of the Planning Act, because of the interior modifications, they're considered alterations. Permission is requested, and there's a requirement for permission by the committee to basically continue this legal non-conforming use. And just a quick background on that. This is currently zoned residential detached. This is a typical example of when the City of Toronto was updating its zoning bylaw in 2013. This just got captured as part of a predominantly residential detached zone. This is definitely not the first of these apartment sites where this has happened, where it just happens. Like the city couldn't capture absolutely every single property, so that explains the legal non-conforming status. And basically, the other 2 variances are both parking related. One which just requires a variance for the overall parking supply. 16 spaces are required overall against the new zoning bylaw standards of bylaws 569-2013. 8 are being proposed and requested. And the other parking related variance has to do with the underground parking garage, or the required parking that has to be indoors. 5 are required based on, again, this is the fact that this is an existing building, and the original parking supply was 10 and 4 are being requested. And a quick nuance on that point, there is actually currently an indoor parking garage that is actually being used for storage. And that's why there's only 4 spaces currently being used in the indoor parking for this site. And the actual storage, the other 2 space for a 2-car garage is being used as storage. This is how the owner, my client, when they took ownership of this property in 2018, that was the existing situation. And the planning justification letter covers a lot more detail on this, and I'll leave it to the speakers to speak to some of the parking issues that they have. But one thing I will identify up front, based on the information provided to me by the property manager and the owner, is that of these current spaces, only 3 spaces on site are actually being used as of today. And I could actually attest, when I've done my site, I've done 2 site visits for this site in the past. One in late 2020 before we actually submitted our application, and one about a month ago or a month and a half ago before the original scheduled hearing that actually got adjourned. When I went on site, the outdoor, if you see the 4 spaces on the outside of the surface parking, those were empty when I was there. So I think I'll speak to, again, I will let the speaker have their chance to speak, but there's something I could speak to regarding the actual visitor parking situation, and I do sympathize. I've seen the objection letters, and it's very tough to dictate and control the way people park and parking patterns, but this is a situation whereby visitor parking could probably be better utilized. People could be directed to park to the rear of the site. It's maybe not as convenient because it's not near the front doors, but those are 4 surface spaces that both times I were there were fully available. And again, I will leave it to the speaker to voice their concerns, and then be more than happy to answer any questions from the committee.
Thank you, Mr. Palumbo. Ms. Chen, do you have a question? You're on mute.
Yes, just some clarification. Now we're looking at the existing site plan. Is this the existing condition with 4 indoor parkings and 4 outside parking?
That is correct.
Okay, and where is the area in relation to this plan will be converted to a dwelling?
It'll actually be, if you go to the ground floor plan, it's the unit, the locker room. That's right there, beside the front entrance of the building. It's bubbled on this plan.
So the room that right next to the 4 parking space is still going to be a parking space, or what's is the storage is going to be? It just remain as storage?
That is correct.
Oh, okay. Now I got it. Okay.
Yeah, sorry, just to quickly, that's the slight nuance with this. So technically, and the reason we submitted back in December was because if city transportation had any issues with this, we would have definitely made an effort to investigate and see if there are any further mitigation options that we can make. But given the current parking utilization on site, it's only 38, or 3 of the 8 spaces is only 38%. There doesn't seem to be any real drive to convert that or use that for parking. So like I said, in 2018, my client, who's the owner, inherited this property as that being storage, and it's expected to just continue as such.
Okay. Can I ask the second question? Is that the existing use of these 2 spaces as a locker room and also the storage, are they being used by the management or by the tenants? The residents, will they lose some of the use of this space?
As far as I'm aware, Ms. Chan, I believe they are used by the tenants, the storage space.
Oh, so they will continue have some kind of storage, but then they will lose the locker room, is that right, or something?
That is correct, and there have been no concerns voiced about that as far as I'm aware.
Oh, no concern about that. Okay.
As far as I'm aware, yeah.
Okay, any further questions before I go to the opposition? Mr. Bayat?
Sorry, no.
No?
No.
Oh, okay. All right. Ms. Yakubowski, are you on the line?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
I can. Can you please identify yourself, name and address for the record?
Yes. Hi there. My name is Ilana Kubowski, and I am the resident and homeowner of 267 Torrens Avenue, East York.
Okay, we're going to start the clock now. You have 5 minutes. Go ahead.
I have sent in a letter outlining the situation, but just to say it briefly, this street, my home, along with several other homes of similar size on the street, cannot get approved for a front yard parking pad due to under the current zoning bylaws. So we have to park on the street, and this street is only one-sided parking at any given time. And even this parking has been depleted in recent years by the addition of a new accessible spot that is never used and has been added here. In any case, we find ourselves having to compete over parking with the residents and visitors of 257 Torrens, which is basically an apartment building located in an RD zone and is already admittedly lacking in parking and wants to lack even further. Saying that only 3 of the units are using cars is simply incorrect. Being that we actually live here and we see who's coming and going, we can say that there are plenty of people from this building parking. I don't know if those are just residents or they're visitors as well, but we've seen both private cars and all kinds of car share type of rental cars belonging to building residents parking along the street. So again, we're in a very tight spot because we have been receiving tickets. As you can see in the picture I submitted in the letter, oftentimes we come and we see both sides of the street, despite it being one-sided, being filled to the brim. So I don't know, some solution needs to be found to this situation. I don't want to stand in the way of the building expanding itself, but maybe the street could be turned into two-sided parking, or maybe there could be some exception for us to get our own parking pads, so we're not in this competitive situation. Either way, I think that something needs to be resolved before the building can proceed and remove even more, because I don't think it's acceptable for the building to be using 2 parking spaces as storage when all the street is suffering from lack of parking.
Okay, is there anything else you wanted to add? Or is that it?
That is the general gist of it. I hope that you did review the letter.
Yeah, we've read
That's
we've read your letters, and I was going to tell you that I know you were asking for both sides to have parking and possibly parking pads. This is totally out of our jurisdiction. I would suggest that you contact your local counselor, and perhaps they can investigate with transportation and do a survey of residents on the street to see if anyone's interested and if that's feasible or not, because that's totally out of our hands here.
Yeah, I do understand that, but under the current conditions, I don't see how this can be approved. And by the way, there are more neighbors who are objecting to it, who I've personally spoken with. They just feel like they don't actually have any actual, they actually told me, like, why are you objecting? You have no choice, no chance.
Well,
here.
as the agent,
I said I will try anyway.
but I will also say to you, if I was correct in hearing the agent, there's only three of the parking spots being used. So in fact, it doesn't appear to be coming from tenants in the building where the cars are coming from. But again, these are transportation issues, but I really would suggest you contact your local counselor and try to resolve that issue somehow.
Okay, well, as I said, there are more residents parking along the street. I don't know why it is that they happen to choose to park on the street rather than in the building's own parking, but it's a fact that I'm actually working from home right now, so I have a view of the street all day, so I can actually see who's coming and going, and there are absolutely many more people parking on the street than just 3.
No, understood. But again, I would call your local counselor and see if they can perhaps get you parking on both sides.
Okay, sure, thank you.
Okay. Panel, or Mr. Palumbo, are you there?
Yes, I am, Madam Chair.
Okay, is there anything else that you want to add? I also read something about garbage storage and construction noise, again, out of our jurisdiction, but was in one of the letters. Perhaps you can briefly address that.
Again, with the terms of that type of activity, it doesn't relate to the variances themselves. All you can really do is ask that any work being done on site be done in compliance with the applicable noise bylaws and operate within the hours that are permitted. But other than that, nothing that I can speak to on those specific concerns, other than I could always advise the property manager and the owner to be mindful of this, because there are concerns in the area. And in responding to the objector that just spoke, I really have thought this through, and based on my visits to the site and whatnot, one suggestion I could make to this committee is that maybe there's a possibility that we can affix a sign on the building itself, like right in front of the driveway that's just besides to the west of the building, that you advise that visitor parking is available in the back, because like I said, I visited this site on 2 occasions, both of which the surface parking was not being used. And again, it's very difficult to speak to and control parking patterns, but that could be an attempt to maybe try and address this neighbor's concerns, to advise anyone coming to the building that there's visitor parking available in the back, or they should be parking in the back. And obviously it's not as convenient because it's not in the front of the building for anyone just looking to go to the front, but at least it provides some sort of option, at least to try and address the issue that's more global and on the street. Because in my truthful opinion, I don't believe that adding one bedroom unit to an existing building will exacerbate this problem, which is why it meets the 4 tests, as I clearly identified in the letter I submitted. But this would be my suggestion as a means to try and address these objections, if at all possible, through this process.
Okay, that's a good suggestion. Ms. Chan?
Okay. I have a question. I just understand the 2 variances. How many? It looks like variance number 1, you require 16 parking spaces. Number 2, like 50% of those parking spaces have to be indoor, which is 5, means that you only need 10 residents parking, 6 visitors. Is that what it means?
Yeah, but this is, again, we followed up with the zoning examiner well before we submitted this application. This provision applies because what we're requesting is the required indoor parking is based on the fact that this is an existing building in an existing situation that whereby it is 10 spaces associated with the existing legal non-conforming building, and that's why the requirement for indoors is 5.
Okay, now I understand, because the figure don't I just try to understand whether I'm reading it wrong. Okay,
Well,
I understand.
we also followed up with that because we wanted to confirm what we were applying for as well.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Any further questions, panel members? Seeing none? Okay, we'll take it into committee then.
I can jump in. I think that they're trying to do the minimal. Just all this conversion is very interior work, and really in terms of the building or the build form, you really have minimal impact. And I think that it's good to add another unit. And in terms of the parking situations, I understand the problems always, but I think some problem may be contributing to people's behavior, rather than whether you increase a couple more parking here will solve the situation anyway. So in overall, I think that this proposal has very little impact in terms of the zoning bylaw, and then I think the variance ask is minor, and plus there's transportation has no comment on it, and I trust the report, and I will be in support of it.
Okay, is that a motion? Does anybody have anything to add, or?
I'm just waiting for other people to make comments. Otherwise, yeah, this is the motion.
Mr. Bayat, go.
I'm in total agreement with Ms. Chan. I think when we focus, I respect the lady who was in opposition, but that's beyond the scope of what is being asked for. So I'm in total support of the proposal as is presented to us. And I would like to perhaps, unless Mr. Clay has any additional comments to make, I would like to propose a motion that we accept the request for variances as presented.
Okay, motion to approve the application moved by Mr. Bayat. Did you want to second, Ms. Chan, then, or who wants to second it? Yeah? Okay, seconded by Ms. Chan. All in favor? The application's been unanimously approved. Thank you. Okay, item number 3, 167 Salmon Avenue. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. We have a report from community planning, and they are asking for refusal of variances 2, 3, and 4. Correspondence expressing interest from 169, which is adjacent. Correspondence in opposition from 153 Salmon. And I have another letter, but no address was provided. Okay, do I have the agent on the line?
Yes, this is Eden speaking. I'm the homeowner.
Okay,
we-
can you
and
just
we-
identify
we-
yourself and then I'll just check how many speakers we have?
Eden Hamel.
Okay. Do we have two speakers on the line or?
Yes, Madam Chair, both are online.
Okay. Mr. Hamel, I need you to do a presentation, no more than 5 minutes. We'll start the clock now. We have two people wanting to speak in opposition.
Right, we already spoke with the city and we're requesting for the deferral of this application.
Oh, you want a deferral? Okay, so let me check with the speakers. And just before I go to them, are you proposing to make modifications then when you come back and talk to the
That's
neighbor?
correct.
And will you be making an effort to speak with the neighbors also before you come back?
Of course, I already, because we didn't know that there was so many misunderstanding about this application because they are assuming that we are builders, but we are not. We are the homeowners.
Okay.
And my brother is the main reason we wanted to have the parking over there, which is the main problem for everybody, is because my brother is disabled, and I don't think anybody.
Yeah, no, I was
Sorry?
just gonna say, understood, but we don't, if we're going to have a deferral, I don't need you to make any justification. I think the expectation
Okay.
from committee is that you will engage with your neighbors before you come back
Yeah,
to
of
the next
course.
time, if the deferral is granted. Okay,
Yes, and with the city planning as well. We are already in a consultation with the city planning department.
okay, that's great. Do I have Mr. Cook on the line? Hello?
Sorry, Madam Chair, I'm just having difficulties unmuting Elizabeth Parker Cook and Dan Cook.
Okay. Do you want to go to Mr. Christie in the meantime, if that one works, and then figure out the other one?
Sure.
Okay. Okay, we're having some technical issues here, folks. Hello, is somebody there?
I am.
Hi. Hi, are you Mr. Cook? Or Mr. Christie?
Mr. Christie.
Hi, so the applicant has asked for a deferral to give them an opportunity to have a discussion with yourself and any other objectors, as well as planning, to make modifications to the proposal, and then they would refile and come back. Are you in agreement with the deferral? Can't hear you anymore, sorry. I think we're having some issues here.
Hi. Yes. This has already been deferred once. Maybe that was the City of Toronto deferring the whole meeting. I don't know. But there's no one living in that house. So to say he lives there, that's a lie. There's no one there. The place is abandoned. It has been rented in the past.
Okay.
But, so I'd like to get this dealt with now.
Okay, I'm not aware of a deferral here.
Maybe it was just the meeting that was pushed back.
That
Was
may have,
originally scheduled for April 14th, but that whole hearing was canceled and rescheduled for today.
yeah, so the actual item has never been deferred in order for the applicant to make modifications. The entire meeting from April was deferred it wasn't deferred, it had to be canceled because the circulation notices, there was a glitch with the system, so every item for today was rescheduled. It had nothing to do with committee granting a deferral.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so, all right. Do you have Mr. Cook or like Liz Parker Cook or Dan Cook, either one?
Yeah, Elizabeth Cook or Jan Cook, you're unmuted. Can you hear us? I'm going to give you, try to give you a call on your 230 number. So hopefully that would work. Hi, Elizabeth, can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yep,
Can you hear
I
me?
can now. Excellent. All right. The applicant is asking for a deferral to be able to speak to planning and as well as the neighbors
Hear me?
and come back with a revised proposal. Are you in agreement? Can't hear you anymore.
Oh,
You there?
hello?
Yep. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay. So the applicant's asking for a deferral from the committee because planning's wants modifications to this application. This will also give the applicant an opportunity to speak to yourself and other neighbors that have concerns, and they would revise their proposal and refile it when they're ready. Are you
Yes, we would very much like to be, yeah,
okay? So
we'd like to be consulted for sure in this process.
okay.
And we've also noticed there is a current listing for this property for
Yeah, I'm sorry, but
167. So I think that's probably what
well, I don't know what you
in
mean.
terms of they were saying there was some.
I don't know. The phone line's cutting out.
Well, these. Oh,
So,
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, so I'm
Sorry.
sorry, but it sounds like you're in favor of the
Hold on, let me
deferral,
try to-
and your phone line is cutting in and out. So basically, I'm going to take it into committee and see what the members' thoughts are on this. Okay. All right, panel members, your thoughts on the deferral? Mr. Bayat?
I can,
Hold on a second.
yeah, I can jump in, Madam Chair. I think that I'm in favor of deferral. The reason is also because it's been requested, and also one of the objector also agreed. The second reason is that when I look at the planning department's concerns, those variances seem to be able to have them work out if they have further discussion. And that's the reason why I think a deferral will be good for the project.
Okay, Mr. Bayat?
I was just going to also propose that we accept the request for deferral. So if Ms. Chan's got a motion on the floor, I'll be happy to second it.
Okay, so we have a motion to defer. Are you okay to move that, Ms. Chan, and seconded by Ms.?
Yes, the reason is for more further consultation with both the planning department and also the neighbors in the area.
Okay, so that motion, that the panel requests that the neighbors who are in objection, especially the two today, 165 and 153 Salmon, as well as any others listed online, be consulted, and that the applicant work with planning and come back with a revised application, moved by Ms. Chan, seconded by Mr. Bayat, to defer this item. All in favor? Okay, your application has been deferred. Thank you, everybody. Okay, item number 4 is 378 Markham Avenue, or Markham Street, rather. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. We have a staff report from the Planner of Strategic Initiatives, Policy and Analysis, with conditions regarding housing. And we have a letter from Councillor Layton recommending approval, including those housing conditions. Do I have the agent on the line?
Yes, good afternoon, Chair, members of the committee. My name is Barry Goldman. I'm the applicant and the architect for this proposal. I am aware of all of those conditions and we're fine with all of them. I'm happy to make a presentation if you like, but I believe the proposal meets the 4 tests and is minor. And if you don't need a presentation, I can answer any questions you have.
I'll get back to you in 1 second. Do you have people on the line? How many? Who do you have?
Madam Chair, I have Janka Gajdal and Edward Gajdal and William Newton. I also
Okay,
have...
sorry, you have William Newton and who else? Gajdal, that's support, right?
Yep.
And then who else do you have?
Paul Ronsky, as
Okay.
well as Vanita Jasal.
And, okay, so we have 3 opposition then. Okay, so, Ms. Chan, did you want to ask a question? Because we're going to need a presentation on this. I have 3 people in opposition.
Oh.
Can it
I
wait?
can wait.
Okay,
Yeah,
great.
maybe
Okay, thanks. Mr. Goldman, so I do have 3 speakers in opposition, and so I do need you to do a presentation, no more than 5 minutes, and we'll restart the clock. Yeah, okay, go ahead. Is he unmuted, Mr. Goldman? Hang on, we're just unmuting you.
My apologies, Barry Goldman, you're unmuted now.
Okay, thank you. This is an existing apartment building. The property recently changed hands from the previous owner that perhaps neglected the building a little bit to the new owners who are my client. There's an existing order to comply on the building to rectify life safety conditions, and that's really all that this proposal is about. There was an existing electrical room, more or less where that end is on the page, that encroached onto the neighbor's property by about 3 feet. Obviously, it was constructed without a permit. Additionally, there's an existing fire escape that also encroaches onto the neighbor's property by about 3 feet. The proposal before you is really to address the unsafe exiting conditions. The front yard landscaping variances to permit a direct entrance from the street directly to both of the front basement apartments in order that they can each have their own front door on the street. And the additional variances are essentially to demolish the existing unsafe electrical room and fire escape at the bottom right corner where that hatch is, and to replace it with a new enclosed stairwell so that if people are trying to exit the building in a fire, they can walk inside a stairwell, inside a building, and exit to the street the way you would normally expect to exit a building in Canada. That is more or less what it is we're trying to do here. In order to accomplish that, we did have to, there was a small impact on 2 of the units on the lower levels. The units upstairs are unaffected. I think that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Okay, Ms. Cham, did you want to hold your question till after the opposition speaks? Okay, so Mr. Goldman, we'll have you back after we hear from the opposition. Okay, Mr. Newton, are you on the line? Who? Well, yeah, I do. That's Mr. Newton's the first one, yeah. And then I'll come back.
Oh, no. Sorry, if I can beg your indulgence, I'd like to speak on behalf of my cousin.
Sorry.
He's not...
Okay, so can you please identify yourself for the record then? We'll need your name and your address.
Okay, my name is Ann Ball, and my address is 170 Delaware Avenue.
Is it N with an E?
No E.
Okay. All right, so the clock starts now, and you have no more than 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you very much.
I'm sorry.
I'd actually...
We just don't have this person registered. Who are you speaking on behalf of?
On behalf of William Newton, who is registered.
Okay, thank you.
That's okay?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, it's fine.
I'd like
Go
to
ahead.
speak on behalf of my cousin. Okay, William New. He is one of the tenants that will be required to vacate if this application is...
I can't hear you anymore.
A little thing to... How come? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's cutting in and out. Do you have
Hello?
do you have something going in the background, or
No?
like you're really going in
Can
and
you
out?
hear me now?
Yeah, try it again.
Okay, hello?
Yeah.
You can hear me now or no?
Yeah, I
Okay.
can hear you now. Hopefully it'll continue, so go ahead.
Okay. Okay, it may seem like a little thing to ask somebody to leave their apartment, but it's not to my cousin. He asked me to convey his strong support for the planning staff recommendation that the affected tenants be part of a relocation and assistance plan or agreement. And his reasons for his support are these. He's lived there for 31 years. He feels very strongly that asking vulnerable people and tenants to move during COVID should not be permitted at all. And finally, on a personal note, William has been hospitalized in mid-April and is fighting a decline in health. Moving at this time, even with relocation and assistance plan, will entail significant hardship for himself and the other affected tenants. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, Paula Yeoman, you don't have, is that, you do? Oh, okay, all right. Is she on the line?
Yes.
Ms. Yeoman, are you there? Hello? Paula?
Hi, Paula, can you hear us? I'm going to try to give you.
I don't have a comment to make. Thank you.
Sorry, you don't have a comment to make?
Excuse me for just a moment. We just wanted to observe. I'm sorry, I didn't intend to make a comment.
Okay, no worries then. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Ronsky.
Hello, my name's Paul Ronsky, and I'm a tenant in number 16 at 378 Markham Street.
Okay.
I don't think I have any sort of submissions to make on opposition to the minor variance application. My concerns, as are the concerns expressed by Mr. Newton's cousin, are with respect to the effect on my tenancy and my current situation. I understood Mr. Goldman to say that, or imply anyway, necessarily, that my unit would not be affected. But there will be some alteration of a wall in my bedroom. And I just am looking for some sort of confirmation that I will not, in order to accommodate that work, have to be relocated or move out of my unit.
All right, we'll have the agent come back and address that after, but there is a report here from city staff regarding the protection of tenants, but we'll have him address your concern when he comes back.
May I ask one question? Is that report available in the materials that were filed on the application?
Yeah, it should be online. It's listed as a housing dash staff report. It should be on the application information center. Online.
A housing staff report?
Yeah.
Because I did download all of the material that was presented for this application and for this hearing, and I do not recall coming across that. What I have is the application, the latent letter, the location map, public notice, plans.
Okay, just bear with me a second. I think the staff are just double checking. Can you
Sure.
double check if it's on the AIC, the staff report? Thanks. But again, we can have Mr. Goldman speak to this in more detail. But generally speaking, there are requirements by the city to protect tenants.
Sure.
Madam Chair, it is there and it is available on AIC.
Okay,
it's
thank you.
labeled as either housing staff report or staff report.
And AIC is what? Excuse me?
Application Information Center.
Okay, thank you.
Make sure you click Committee of Adjustment, not rezoning. That's all.
Okay.
All right?
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Do you have Vanita Giselle? Yeah? Hi, Miss Giselle, are you there?
Hi, Vanita, you're unmuted. Can you hear us? Okay, I'm going to try to give you a call on the number that you left, 340 number. 1 second.
Listening and understanding.
Vanita, are you there?
If this is a medical emergency, please report to your nearest emergency room or contact your family physician.
Hi, Vanita. We were able to hear you for a split second. Are you there?
No? Okay. You know what? I'm going to go to, do you have Jonka Gajdel? I'm not sure how you pronounce it. But.
Hi.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're in support, I understand.
We're completely in support because the building, we're right next door, and the building, we've lived here for 25 years, and that particular building has had a litany of safety issues around it. It had a fire, we've had the fire department and the city at our door for the past 25 years trying to find a way to reach the owners so they could bring it up to safety standards. The intention behind this is really to do just that, make it safe for everyone. I sympathize with the individuals who are concerned about being displaced, but this is about all the tenants having safety in evacuation and having safety in their occupation in the space. And that is the intention behind this, so we fully support it.
Thank you very much. Mr. Goldman, are you there?
Thank you.
Hi, can you just speak to the concerns expressed by the tenants that are going to be impacted with the, you know, the wall and some other things, please, and how they'll be
Certainly. With respect to the second caller, Paul in Unit 16, yeah, the proposal is...
We still have Janka Gajal and Edward Gajal.
Shall I pause?
Hang on a second, I'm not sure what's going on right now.
Okay.
Sorry? They spoke. Hi, Barb, I'm not sure what you're referring to, but Jonka Jadel already spoke, so Barb, are you there?
Okay. Yep, sorry.
Yeah.
I thought you were looking for them as the next speaker.
No, that was the person who just spoke in support, so we're fine.
Okay.
The only
Okay,
one that
thanks.
we haven't been able to get on the line is Vanita Giselle, so I'm moving to to Barry Goldman.
No, that's who just spoke. She just spoke in support.
No, that was Gajdel. I'm talking about Giselle. Vanita, the last one on the list. Anyway, we're fine. So we're going to go to Barry Goldman, and then we'll try to reach that one person one more time in the meantime. Okay. Mr. Goldman, sorry about the interruption. Go ahead.
Not at all. So I'll just reiterate again, as you're all aware, the tenants are protected by some pretty robust laws, so they will not be poorly treated. The intention here is only to bring the building up to a level of safety that's the minimum standard for a building in Toronto. That is literally the only thing we're attempting to accomplish here. we did make every effort to minimize the impact that these stairs would have. And what you see before you is a pretty limited impact. I believe there are 2 units. Unit number 16, the proposal is only to cut a door into the existing rear bedroom in order that that unit would have a second means of egress, which it currently lacks. That is the only impact. So that would be my drawing A5. There we are. You can see that door. It's the bottom right-hand corner. Okay, so that's an existing stair shaft. We're just cutting a door from the unit into that stair. So there'd be a little bit of mess and dust, but I don't see why you have to leave for that. And any of the units above will not be impacted. The other speaker, I wasn't aware of which unit they were in, but again, I'll just say the intention here is to bring the building up to a minimum level of safety. And the tenants will be protected by all the laws that are in place to protect them. So this won't be done in a cruel manner.
Okay, just for your information, the speakers were in units 4, 17, and 16.
Okay, 16 is unaffected. I'm just flipping through my plan. Unit 4 will be slightly reduced. They will have to leave. The landlord is going to have to find them another unit to live in accordance with the laws governing this behavior.
Yeah, unit 4 is Mr. Newton, and that's the one that he's not well at the moment. That's been there 31 years, so. But you'll be.
I do sympathize, but I'd like it, if that person were living above a dynamite factory and they'd lived there for 35 years, and then the city became aware that they were living over a dynamite factory. This is a similar situation.
But you will
They're
be.
not in a safe place.
But you will be relocating them. I think that was the issue that.
They will need to be relocated in order to permit the staircase to reach the ground there.
Okay. Is there anything else, sir, Mr. Goldman, that you want to add, or is that everything?
No, I'd simply reiterate the variances we're seeking are minor, and really, I think understandably what these people are concerned with are not the variances per se. So I'd suggest again that the variances should be approved in order to permit this project to proceed.
Thank you. Thank you. Have you been able to reach Benita? Yes, or not? Okay, try one more time before I go into committee then.
Vanita?
Thank you, I am here.
You're there? Okay, go ahead.
Yes, I'm so sorry. I'm having difficulty with the microphones.
That's okay. I just need your address also and your full name for the record before you speak.
My name is Vanita Jessel. I am at 371 Markham Street, directly opposite the building that is being considered and the renovations that are being considered.
Okay.
And my intent was to attend to ensure that there was a fair hearing, and also to see if there was impact for my property just in terms of access, etc., rather than to have an opinion pro or against.
Okay. I guess, Mr. Goldman, is there anything that you can add in answer to what was just said?
This, so just so I understand, this speaker is across the street, is that correct?
Yeah, 371, right across the street.
We will be improving your property values by bringing the building up to current building code standards.
Does that answer your question, or Ms. Giselle?
My question is more around the access to my driveway. This property in front of my house generally has a lot of parked cars there. The supervisors tend to park there, and my understanding would be that with renovations, they would block the access to my driveway. I'm a physician, and I quite often need to leave my property in a hurry with my car, and I often have difficulty accessing that and getting to the hospital on time. And if there was prolonged renovations, that would be my only concern from that perspective. Otherwise, I was here to listen rather than more anything else.
Okay, thanks. Mr. Goldman, I assume that when construction's happening, there won't be anything blocking the egress and across the street. Is that correct?
That sounds perfectly reasonable. Yeah, the work needs to be done in order to make this building safe for the tenants. And of course, it'll be done with the least impact possible that any professional contractor would do.
Okay, thank you. Panel members, do you have any questions? Seeing none, let's take it into committee then.
I can jump in. I think there are a lot of issues around them, and since there are already law and conditions that we're going to impose the protection of the tenants, I'm ready to move approval. The one more comment I'd like to make is that, of course, they'll create a lot of anxiety with for the existing tenants. Maybe there's good communication and give them ample of notice. That will help, and that's my comments. And if I move, I will impose the recommended by the staff report of the two conditions concerning the rental housing demo permit.
Okay. Any other comments or a seconder for the motion? Mr. Bayat? All right.
I'll second the motion.
Okay. I have a motion to approve, moved by Ms. Chan, seconded by Mr. Bayat, including the conditions in the March 23rd report. All in favor? Okay, the application has been approved. Thanks to everyone for their input. Okay. The next item number 5, 227 Westlake Avenue. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, revised site plan, floor plans, and elevations. We have 6 photographs of properties on Westlake, Crew, Oak Park, and Westbrook. We have decisions of previous, decisions made by committee for properties on Westlake, Crew, Lumsden, Oak Park, and Orley and Westbrook Avenue. We have a map of the research area provided by the agent. We have a staff report from Forestry. They're asking for condition number 1, and we have 7 form letters in support from number 211, 215, 220, 222 Westlake Avenue, 32 Crew, and 205 Chisholm. And I am showing one person speaking in interest. Are they on the line?
Madam Chair, we're not able to reach George Crees Rodriguez.
Okay. And you've tried a few times already, or?
We don't actually have a
Oh,
phone
you don't
number.
have a phone
Yeah,
number. All right.
but we did reach, try to reach them via email.
Okay. Mr. Massandrea, are you there?
Yes, I am. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon. Panel members, do you need a presentation? We don't have contact for the speaker. We've attempted to reach them by email, been unsuccessful. Do you have any questions, or do you need a full presentation? Mr. Clay, did you have?
Just a question, if I might, Chair. I was just looking at the elevation plans, and in regards to the terrace or deck, second floor, I noticed this is a corner lot, and the rear kind of is the side of a dwelling on the adjacent street, and I just wasn't sure whether for that second floor deck we're considering some sort of screening around that, privacy screening around that deck.
The one in the front you're talking about?
Oh, it's a front deck. There's no rear deck?
I'm just checking right now. No, there's no rear deck. It's only in the front.
Fair enough. My mistake. I was thinking that was the rear of the dwelling, but if there's no deck or terrace off the rear, I'm fine with it.
Any other questions, panel members? Seeing none? No response, right? Okay. Okay, Mr. Massandrea, we've read all the material. We're ready to go into committee. Is there anything you want to add before we go into committee?
No, I think it's pretty straightforward.
Okay, thank you. Panel members, any comments or a motion or both?
I would agree with the agent. I think this is a fairly straightforward application. The variances, while there are several, they are all very minor, and I think I'm prepared to move a motion to approve this application subject to forestry condition number 1.
Okay, do I have a seconder for that motion? Mr. Byatt? Okay, motion to approve, including forestry condition number 1, moved by Mr. Clay, seconded by Mr. Byatt. All in favor? The application has been unanimously approved. Thank you. Item number 6, 415 Montrose Avenue. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. Planning justification letter by Mr. Chan on behalf of the applicant, 7 photographs of the subject property, and we have 3 form letters in support. I'm not sure. Are these 2 speakers that I show here, are they opposition or are they? Mr. Chan, are you there?
Yes, Madam Chair, good afternoon, I'm here.
Okay. Did you list anybody else other than yourself to speak?
I believe the applicant's owners, Ms. Franca Pernazzotti and Peter Brown, may have registered as speakers.
No, they didn't. The names I have are different. Yeah, just so.
Those would be different names.
Okay, just bear with me a second to see if we have these people on the line. Do we have? It's okay. So do we have any of them? Because if we do, I need a presentation, right? Let me just find out if he's in opposition. Let me know when. So it's Steve's unmuted then? Mr. Scoyne?
Yeah, I think I'm unmuted.
Hi, are you in
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Are you in support or are you opposed to this application?
I'm in support. I was just listening in the event I heard something, so I'm in support though.
Okay, just so you know, once you've spoken and you're in support, we don't come back to the people. So if you do have a concern, then I need you to express it now.
I have no concern as it was currently submitted, so.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now what about?
We're just calling Nicola.
Whoa. Okay, Mr. Chan, just bear with me a minute. We have one more speaker listed. We're just trying to reach that person.
Hello?
Hi, Nicola. Hi, Nicola.
Hi.
Hi, Nicola. Are you in support of this application or opposed?
In support.
Okay. Is there anything you want to add before we continue, or you're just in support?
No, just that I was in support. Sorry, I was occupied. I couldn't join the WebEx.
Yeah, no worries. We're good. Okay, so we'll move on then. Panel members,
Okay.
do you need a presentation or can we go straight to questions? Panel members, do any of you have a question of Mr. Chan? Seeing none? Mr. Clay, are you okay, or do you have a question? You're good? Okay. Mr. Chan, panel members, we've read the material and we're ready to go into committee. We don't need a presentation. Is there anything you want to add before we go into committee?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just like to note that in my planning rationale I submitted in support of this application, did mention a couple of conditions and hopefully that's under satisfaction to the committee as well. We discussed the project with community planning and they haven't responded with a report whether in support or opposed. So
yeah, we don't have any. We don't have anything here for conditions. So
But should the committee consider a condition for privacy screening, we're more than welcome to accept that.
Okay. All right, we'll take it into committee then. Panel members, any thoughts?
Well, I'm ready to move for approval because I read through material and all the variances. I consider them to be minor and pass all tests. And as in terms of the privacy screen, since there's no request and there's no opposition present, I don't feel like putting it as a condition. Unless other members would like to impose that.
I'm just going to weigh in here only because this, you know, I'm looking at the plans and it is, it's a rooftop kind of deck really with access from the floor. And it does sit quite a bit higher than some of the other buildings in the area. I think it would in fact be received well by the neighbors if we put a condition in that there be privacy screening when there's something that high that looks as considerable overlook for many houses, many of the adjacent houses. So if it's okay, Ian, I'd like to end your motion to include privacy screening.
Is it on all sides?
Yeah, I think it sits on top of the building and it has overlook all the way around. So I think it would be prudent to include that as a condition.
Okay, so I modify my motion is to put a condition of privacy screen 1.5 meter from the deck, all sides of the rooftop deck.
Okay, are you seconding that, Mr. Clay, or?
Sure, happy to.
Okay, so motion to approve, including the condition that was just outlined by Ms. Chan, seconded by Mr. Clay. All in favor? The application has been unanimously approved. Thank you. Item number 7, 357 Harvie Avenue. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, and we don't have any other correspondence. All right, is the agent there?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and committee members. My name is Eddie Perez. I'm here on behalf of the owners.
Okay, panel members, there are no speakers in opposition. Do you need a presentation? Is that a no? Okay, do any of you have any questions of the agent? Ms. Chan?
One quick one. Have you talked to the neighbors at 359?
Yeah, the neighbors, we've been in touch with them, yes.
And they have no comments,
No objection, no comments.
Okay, that's the one that I'm most concerned. That's okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions, panel members? No? Okay, Mr. Perez, we've read the materials. We're ready to go into committee. Is there anything you want to add before we do so?
No, it's a straightforward application. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, panel members, we're in committee. Any comments?
I'll just start off, Chair. I think this is a rather much proposal. I think it's in keeping neighborhood. I don't think there'll be any adverse impact on any of the surrounding or adjacent neighbors. I think it's a proposal. I would move that we move this application. I don't believe there are no conditions.
All right, do I have a seconder for that motion? Mr. Bayat? Okay, motion to approve, moved by Mr. Clay, seconded by Mr. Bayat. All in favor? Your application has been unanimously approved. Thank you. Item number 8, 203 Major Street. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. We have a copy of presentation materials provided by Cyril Fauché on behalf of Sava Miokovic, the agent. We have previous decisions affecting 198 and Major Street and 171 Roberts Street. We have planning is asking for a condition for screening. We have 13 form letters in support signed by 205, 207, 208, 215, and 218 Major Street, 202, 210, 222, 242, 244, 246, 248, and 250 Robert Street. Okay, and I don't show any speakers. Do I have the agent on the line?
Good afternoon, I'm here, Sava Miokovic.
Okay. Panel members, do you need a presentation? No? Do you have any questions of the agent? I'm not seeing any questions. It's a pretty straightforward application. Mr. Biokovic, we've read the materials. We're ready to go into committee. Is there anything you'd like to add before we do so?
I think the main thing would just be the planning conditions. We don't have issue with the privacy screening, but our preference would be to limit it to the side walls, to the north and the south, to still allow some light to come in from the back.
Yeah,
You'll notice on the
no, the privacy screening says along the north and south edges. Is that?
Yeah, so we're okay with that condition then. Thank you.
Okay. And it's to the height of a minimum height of 1.5 meters from the floor of the deck.
Perfect. Yeah.
Okay. So anything else, or you're okay for us to go into committee then?
Yeah, just highlighting it's a very small rear addition. The building is not the third story addition isn't as long as the existing house. We've stepped it back substantially to have appropriate massing. And we've gathered quite a bit of neighborly support, credit to our clients. So I think it's a very appropriate development here, and the variances are all minor in nature.
Okay, thank you. Panel members, we're in committee.
I'm ready to move for approval with the staff report's condition on the privacy screen. And yeah, there's a lot of support. I sort of stopped writing down the numbers, and I was going to write down all the support. So I move for approval with one condition.
Okay.
I'll second that, Chair. I just wanted to take a moment to also acknowledge hard work that the applicant did, or the owner did, to get all that kind of support to see when an application has been kept that well amongst the adjacent neighbors. Congratulations, and I'll second the motion.
All right, I have a motion to approve the application, moved by Ms. Chan, seconded by Mr. Clay, including the condition in the April 27th planning report. All in favor? Your application has been unanimously approved. Thank you. Next item is item number 9, 174 Cedric Avenue. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, revised site plan, floor plans and elevations, photographs of 160A, B, and 162, 180, and 185 Cedric, as well as a previous decision affecting the subject property. I'm not showing any speakers in opposition or support. Is the agent on the line?
Yes. Hi, this is Parisa Amiri. I'm the architect on the file.
Okay, panel members, do you need a presentation on this one? It's pretty straightforward. Do you have any questions of the agent? Ms. Chan?
Yes.
Yes, one quick question is just, there's the application and also a decision dated just 2020 October?
Yes.
And then I think the sort of, is it the application has been changed and that's why you need to come back?
Yes. Yes, the application has been changed because the needs of my client has been changed during the pandemic, and they wanted to have another bedroom, and
I see.
They had a room on the third floor to add another bedroom, so we have to come back for another bedroom. Like that's why we are coming back.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Clay?
And we designed it. Yes.
Sorry, Mr. Clay, did you have a question?
And we designed.
Okay, go ahead. Did you have something else in your answer, Mrs. Parisi? Or Parisa?
Yes. Yes, I was just adding, because respecting to the neighborhood and the neighbors, we put the fourth bedroom right in the middle of the property to don't affect the shadow anywhere. And the reason that we included those properties, they are the similar practice in the same street. So that's why we included those. So I'm ready to answer any question.
Okay, Mr. Clay has a question.
If I could, I was just looking at your photos. So received approval for 2 stories. You're coming for approval for the 3rd story. Has the
Yes.
3rd story already been built?
No, nothing has been built. We haven't gone for the building permit at all.
Oh, what am I looking at with these photos?
No, these photos are for the precedent on the same street that we wanted to show the neighbors all have the 3-story. That's why we are asking for, like, for the height that we are asking, it's very similar to this project, the one that you're seeing.
Oh yeah, that's helpful. When you submitted the photo, one was still under construction, and I wasn't sure if that
Yeah.
was your site or
No, it's not our
or that
site.
was disabled.
No,
Okay.
we haven't applied for the building permit yet.
All right. Thank you. That's good.
Thank you.
Okay, any other
We
questions?
just changed the drawings.
Any other questions, panel members? Seeing none? Okay, Ms. Amiri, we're ready to go into committee. Anything you need to add before we
Thank you.
go into, you're okay? All right. Panel members, you wanted to add something? We're going
No,
into.
I just wanted to add that we redesigned the house to fit the client's neighbor and a client's need and the neighbors, respect the neighbors, so.
Okay. All right, the panel members have read all the materials and we're ready to go into committee. Panel members, do you have any comments? Or a motion? Or both? Ms. Chan?
Yes, I'm willing to move for approval with no conditions. I read through material and I think the 2 variances are minor and meeting the 4 tests.
Okay, do I have a seconder? Mr. Bayat? Okay, motion to approve. Moved by Ms. Chan, seconded by Mr. Bayat. All in favor? The application has been unanimously approved. Thank you. The next item, item number 10, 70 Normandy Boulevard. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. We have correspondence in support from number 72, which is adjacent, 68 and 80. And actually, number 80 had sent in opposition letter, but they actually withdrew that 2 days later. I am not showing any speakers in opposition. Can I have the agent identify himself for the record, please?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. Can you hear me?
I can.
Good afternoon, good members of the panel and staff, committee staff. My name is Giorgio Lowell, representing the file in front of us today.
All right, panel members, do you need a presentation? No? Do you have any questions for Mr. Lolos? No? All right, sir, it doesn't look like there are any questions. We've read the material. We're ready to go into committee. Is there something you want to add that's not in the materials you submitted?
No, Madam Chair. In a short, brief sort of introduction, we did everything that we can with the neighbors and community planning to facilitate our application and to minimize all impacts that we're asking for.
Okay, so we'll take it into committee for a decision. Panel members? Mr. Bayat.
Madam Chair, this proposal looks to be a fairly straightforward one. There are no conditions from planning or transportation or anybody else. No opposition. I'm quite in favor of approving the application as is.
Okay, do I have a seconder? Mr. Clay? Okay, motion to approve moved by Mr. Bayat, seconded by Mr. Clay. All in favor? Your application has been unanimously approved. Thank you. Item number 11, 103 Ellerbeck Street. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, a revised agenda listing, as well as revised plans received on April 15th, 2 photographs of the subject property. We have previous C of A decisions affecting the subject property. Forestry is asking for condition number 2, and correspondence in opposition from number 21 and 15 Browning. And I am showing 2 speakers. Do we have both of them? Okay, so is the agent there?
Yes.
Hi, can you just identify yourself for the record, please?
Yes. My name is Joe Dome, 1101 Steeles Avenue West, agent for the owner.
Okay, we do have 2 people in opposition. Can you give us a presentation, no more than 5 minutes, please? Starting now.
Yes. Okay. So I'd like to begin by stating that, as you can see, we have submitted revised drawings, eliminating variances number 1 and 2 by removing the proposed pool and new decks. The existing deck and rear yard soft landscaping are now maintained to satisfy the bylaw, as shown on the revised site plan A100. So just to reiterate, we're removing variances number 1 and 2.
Okay. Okay, so, sorry, some of this is in a different supplemental agenda, so just want to make sure we're clear here. So the variance number 1 for that rear ground floor deck, is that what you're removing from the original notice?
That's right.
Okay, so 1 and 2, did you say?
That's right. That's right, because the existing rear yard soft landscaping will now be maintained, so and that will satisfy the requirement.
Okay, so we're only looking at 2 variances, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, so we're looking at the maximum permitted building height going to 9.96, and the altered detached dwelling will have a floor space index of 0.82. Those are the only 2 variances you need right now. Is that correct?
That's correct. And I can speak I can speak to those variances as well.
Okay. Okay, because we have opposition, yeah, if you can just speak to the need for those 2 variances.
Okay. So the owner is proposing the addition to satisfy family livability needs going forward. For variance number 3, proposing 0.82 FSI, and variance number 4, proposing 9.96 meter height. These are reasonable in a neighborhood context, given that the front of the dwelling will be maintained. The height variance only pertains to the rear portion of the dwelling, and the addition will be well shielded from the street. And you can see in the supporting materials, the photo from the front of the house shows how the rear massing will be shielded. So one picture further. There. And there are also numerous houses with a similar or higher FSI and height. For example, 75 Ellerbeck, which is a 3-story dwelling, was approved in 2017. 0.81 FSI and a 10-meter flat roof height for basically the back half of the dwelling. And 41 Ellerbeck also has 3rd-story flat roof going up to about 10 meters for nearly the entire length of the house. And the same as 88 Ellerbeck, just across the street to the south. Not to go into listing every example, but for FSI, there are 11 dwellings in the immediate area that were approved for FSIs that are higher than 0.82, going up to 1.04 at 4 Plater Boulevard. And finally, despite asking for FSI, I'd like to point out the length of the dwelling is not increasing, and there are no side yard setback variances. Furthermore, planning has no objections to the application. And we feel the proposal before you today is reasonable and minor in nature. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, I think we'll go to the opposition first, and then we'll come back to you.
Okay.
All right. Do you have Susan Parker on the line?
Through you, Madam Chair, attempts were made to reach them.
Okay, what about Fei Wong or George
yes,
Wong.
Faye is on the line. Give me 1 second.
Hello?
Hi, are you there? Is this Fei?
Yes, this is Fei Wong.
Hi, can you just give us, yeah, I can hear you. We just need your address for the record.
Okay, my name is Fei Wong, and my address is 6 Butternut Street. My husband is also next to me.
Okay, you have 5 minutes between the two of you, and just, the applicant did make revision to the original proposal, so he's asking for 2 variances only. So he's asking for the height and for the floor space index only. So I'm not sure what notice you have. If you have the notice with 4 variances, the first 2 are no longer there.
Yeah, I have both.
Okay.
Both public notices, and this is a first-time experience for me, so I don't know whether, this is the right avenue, just a question. But I do note that the second notice for today's meeting is short of the first 2 variances on the first public notice hearing. And when I was looking through the information, there was something about a tree report. So I guess just to put, where our concerns come, give you our perspective, is that our property runs south of the 103 Ellerbeck Street property, and so our fence, our backyard fence borders on there. And on the other side of the fence are 2 trees. And I don't really understand what that tree report meant, where it said conditions of urban forestry with respect to 103 Ellerbeck. There was a number 2 that was crossed off. But our concern has to do with those trees. And one is that right now, I guess with COVID, we've been at home, and we really can't get much enjoyment out of our backyard because of the trees that are bordering. They've grown to a large extent that they're pretty close to our property now. And when I try to look at the plan to try and understand what their intention is with respect to construction, I'm not sure, even after they erect the renovated part, whether that is going to get close to, their side of the house. And because it is a mature tree now, we've been in our property for for a little over 20 years now. And through the years, the canopy has really grown. We've had it, in consultation with 103, we've had it trimmed many years ago. I can't remember for how long. But now what we notice as well is that the bricks, the interlocking bricks on our side of the fence, around where the trees are, they're starting to buckle. Okay, and also the canopy, the trees, the branches, and the leaves are getting closer to like our house, our actual brick house. So when we saw that there was a tree report, I didn't really understand that, but I know also that tree condition, or the spot landscaping variance request has now been removed, and we just didn't know, like, is it possible to have those trees relocated to, or have new trees put on where the proposed pool was to go? Because every year, and we are getting older as well, every year my husband has to clean about 15 to 20 bags of leaves just from those 2 trees. And we are getting older, and like right now in our backyard, it's like a sea of yellow because of these little, I've learned now that they're called pollen, like, these little, I don't know, little things that come, fall down from the tree. So I just didn't know, like, through time, like, whether it's going to, impact, like whether it can, and in our area, we've had trees that have, the branches have actually fallen and cracked because of the wind or whatever. So I know that there was a tree report. I don't know whether at the time when they provided the report, did they take into consideration the impact that, you know, the trees growing there will have on, you know, on the other side of the fence. Okay, and also, we've joined in since 2 o'clock, and from the various other speakers for the other properties, I note that some of them have, you know, mentioned about consultation or anything like that. We never had the opportunity to be consulted, or, you know, these letters of support or whatever. And the neighbors on Butternut Street that also border the property, like when the first we heard about it was when we received the original public notice hearing for the hearing in April, and neither number 4 or number 6, number 8, they did not know until they actually received it. So you know, we wish that we could have been able to talk to the owners of 103 just to express our concerns. I had tried and you know, reach them last week, and yesterday we were able just to speak for a little while.
Miss Wong,
as I said,
I'm sorry to cut you off, but you're over 5 minutes now, so I
Okay,
need
well,
you to wrap up.
Yeah, I think I've conveyed like where our concerns were. I didn't know whether the trees can be moved.
Okay,
over
well,
there, or whether we can
okay, I'm going to have the agent back, and I'll ask him about he'll address your concern on the trees.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Dome, are you there?
Yes.
I'll just say one thing in terms of consulting with the neighbors, that I think as committee members, we always encourage this to happen. So hopefully moving forward, you'll do that. I don't know if you attempted to do so, but in terms of the tree that this person just expressed, if you can just address that.
Yeah, so the owner did have some conversations, about an hour long, with them as well. And their concerns did revolve around the tree. I would like to point out that the trees are existing, and will be abiding by conditions of urban forestry. And the owner has commissioned an arborist report as well.
Okay. All right, panel members, do you have any questions of the agent? Mr. Clay.
Chair, if I might, just a quick one. I was noticing in your site plan material, you did the calculations for SI. I was originally concerned a little bit with the, you know, more than 100 doubling the FSI, but I did note that your existing FSI and the existing dwelling is about 60%. I just wanted to confirm whether that is the case.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so your increase in FSI is not doubling, it's actually more realistically just over 30%. Is that fair?
That's right. The existing FSI is 59.62%.
Thank you.
Panel members, any further questions? Mr. Bayat?
Just a quick one, Madam. Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a quick one. The forestry report requirement, I presume, and maybe I'm wrong, but if you can correct me, was that related to the previous proposal to have a pool, in-ground pool?
I believe it was. Well, actually, they did release the report pretty late, so it may just pertain to the existing trees now and erecting a tree protection zone. And the owner has commissioned that arborist report to place those zones in the appropriate area.
And I thank you for acknowledging that these are existing trees. Thank you.
Ms. Chen?
Yes, I have just one question, because since the opposition from 21 and also 15 Browning Street, they're the main concerns about shadow and I'd just like to know where is this property in the relationship to your house, to your property? Are they much further? It's 21 and 15 Browning.
Yes, so 21, so 15 Browning actually doesn't have a view to 103, and only 21 actually does, and there are trees that are in between that will help to shield
So that's why I studied the plans that they are quite, especially one by 21, they're quite far away, and I do not think the shadow will be a problem for them, right?
That's right, and there is an east-west orientation as well.
Yeah. Okay. I just want to confirm that. Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions, panel members? Okay, we're ready to go into committee. Any discussion? So we're looking to approve or not approve the plans that are in the supplemental report.
Mhm.
Okay, go ahead, Ms. Chan.
Yeah, I like to move for approval with the revised agenda with the 2 variances and then 2 other ones are deleted, and also have forestry condition number 2 imposed.
Okay, do I have a seconder? Mr. Clay. He beat you by like a second, Mr. Byatt. What can I tell you?
I'm sorry to hear you will have all the rest.
Sorry? All right, I have a motion to approve the application as revised in our supplemental agenda with the 2 variances, as well as forestry condition number 2. Moved by Ms. Chan, seconded by Mr. Clay. All in favor? Okay, before I move on, I'd like to take a 5-minute break. If everyone, I think we need to stretch our legs for a minute. Okay, we'll be back at, time is it? 5 after 4, I guess. Make it even.
Okay.
Okay, the next item is item number 12, 205 Robina Avenue. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, revised site plan, floor plans and elevations, presentation materials, and we have 3 form letters in support signed by 221 Robina and 185 CEDRIC. I have 3 people registered in opposition, on 1 we're unable to reach. So are you there, Mr. Bankowski?
I'm here, Madam Chair.
Hi. I'm going to need you to do a presentation because you do have 2 opposition speakers. So we'll start.
Sure.
Yeah, so go ahead. We'll start the clock when you start speaking.
Yep, if we could bring up my presentation material, please. So the application that is before you is for a proposed new dwelling. The new dwelling maintains the existing setback along the north portion. If we could go to the next page, please. So what I've done here, if we could zoom in, is I've put a couple of green lines on this as well as the elevation to really show where the built form has been appropriated on the property. So the existing dwelling that is there is built to that green portion at the rear. That green portion is the only portion that is new as it proposes to the new zoning bylaw request for a side yard setback. So the addition essentially on the new house does maintain an under a 17-meter dwelling as per the zoning bylaw. And if we go to the next portion, please. What I've done here is we've now taken the section or an elevation to show where that main wall height has been appropriated. So on the right of the screen, we see the front portion of the dwelling, and on the left, we see the rear. So that request for the variance for the main wall height is essentially for a recessed 3rd floor. So as this house would read from the street, it essentially reads as a 2-story dwelling. As you can see at the rear, we already have privacy screening that is proposed for the rear balcony. That is a request that is before you today. Again, in terms of the lot coverage as well as the FSI is for a modest 8 square meter increase from the zoning bylaw. The coverage variance is not related to a building length variance, but rather a maintaining of that existing side yard setback on the north, as well as the rear addition that we previously saw in green. In terms of the roof eaves, this is a very tightly packed urban area. There is no encroachment onto any adjacent property, and those roof eaves essentially mimic what is on the property today. And I'm happy to answer any questions you might have right now.
Ms. Chan?
Yes, can we bring up the agenda, the purpose clause? Because I have a question on that. Can we have the staff bring up the agenda? First page. On the purpose clause, to construct to me, it says it's like constructing a new building, right? I think maybe there's something wrong. The purpose clause, to construct a 3-story detached dwelling with an integral garage.
No, the purpose is to construct a new dwelling.
A new, yeah. But then when you also told me that that's only the part is the new thing and the rest is existing.
Sorry, through you, Madam Chair. That wall, sorry, I should have been a little clearer. That wall is proposed to be maintained along that portion, correct? Okay, yeah. So if we were to bring up the plans itself, we could do that. You will see there, as they are noted on the plans itself, not in my support material, correct? Maybe the next page, if we could go to the first floor.
Yes.
We will see, yes, there it is. Sorry, yes, through you, Madam Chair. You are correct, Ms. Chan. Yes, I didn't misspeak. I just wasn't clear. That is proposed to be maintained, correct?
I just want to make sure that it's not, you're just building on the existing footprint. So it's not like an entirely new building, so that people will read it differently if that's the
Correct.
case.
Those walls are proposed to be maintained, correct.
Okay, can you hold your questions till we hear from the opposition now? Okay, so I'll come back to you, Mr. Bankowski. Do you have Ms. Salerno on the line?
Hi.
Hi, can I just have you identify yourself, name and address for the record?
Okay, so my name is Louisa Salerno. I live at 116 Cedric Avenue, which is basically this house is in my backyard. So it's whatever that's called adjacent to my back. So right now, what is there is a small bungalow, and I understand they are going to be building this house. I am opposing two of the variances. One of them is the square meters of the footprint of it. The footprint of this house is basically going to be 40% bigger than what is there now, which means it's going to come way back, and it's going to, like right now, when I look in my backyard, there's there's the end of my house, a whole bunch of backyard, then a whole bunch of backyard, and then a house. So the house is like way far away. I mean, it's there, but it's not like right in my face. This house that they are proposing to build is going to go so far back that, I mean, because they've got an extra 75 square meters that they're like adding to the back of what's there already. And that's going to basically mean that this house is just a little bit over my fence. So it's going to be like right there. And which means that, and it's going to go up 3 stories. Right now there's a 1-story house. So it's going to go up 3 stories, which means it's going to block any kind of light that I have in my backyard right now. It's going to completely change, what I see when I look in my backyard. I see sky and I see trees and I see, that now all I'm going to see is this big, huge house. And the other thing, so that's the square footage and the height. Those are the 2 things. The setback from the sides, I don't really care. The setback from the front, they're not changing that. But how much of the land they're taking is going to mean that I don't see the sunsets anymore. Like, that's why I buy this house, because I have a western exposure in my backyard, and every single day I can see the sunset. It's one of the most beautiful things. And I've been here since 2010, so it's not like I just moved in and it's like, oh no, they sold that house and now they're going to do this. This is what I've been looking at the entire time I've been here. And so I'm opposed to the height and the size of it. It's too big for that area. And I know that there are some houses on my street and even on Robina that are big. If you look in the backyard, you'll see that there's enough room from where one house ends and the other one starts that you don't feel like that other house is like right on top of you. This house is going to be basically like looking right down on me, like right into my backyard. I'm going to have 0 privacy. And those 3 people who signed the letters of of support, one of them is like, none of them are within even sight of this house. You have got to look on a map. All 3 of these support letters, one of them is on a street that's just cut by, it's just, they're nowhere near it. I don't know how them saying that they support it has anything to do with anything, because they can't even see this house from their house. So that's, those are my arguments right there. My sun and my sunsets and my light and all that.
Okay, thank you. Panel members, do you have any questions of the speaker? Seeing none. All right, thank you very much. Do we have Tricia Hong on the line? Ms. Hong, are you there?
Hi, yes, I'm here.
Hi, I just need your name and address for the record, please.
Yes, it's Tricia Hong and my husband, who lives with me, Jason Marinelli Sim, 114 Cedric Avenue.
All right, you have 5 minutes between the 2 of you, and we'll start the clock now.
Okay, great. I'll speak for the both of us. My husband and I have lived in this neighborhood for 11 years and have had 3 children since moving in, and we plan to live in this home for as long as we can. Whenever we plan improvements to landscaping or replacing windows, we always try to consider its impact on neighbors. We planted trees, provide shade, nice fencing with the neighbors, grass and gardens. Our 3 young children play in the yard every single day. We saw this proposal first through the city's variance process. We were never approached for consultation. We do not know the owners who purchased the land last year. For all intents and purposes, we believe this large house will be built and then sold to a new homeowner who may or may not care for the variances proposal. For the record, as Louisa said, as Ms. Salerno said just previously, my neighbor, the letters of support on the file are not impacted at all, being so far away from the lot in question. The problem we see with this application is that it offers no benefit to anybody. It doesn't increase housing density. It merely increases indoor square footage for one single household. It doesn't improve on the green space in the city. In fact, it encroaches on it. It doesn't respect any of the surrounding properties. It proposes 2 balconies in the back, one quite large that will tower over all the neighboring lots. And more specifically, the reason we object to this application includes 1, the floor space, the fact that the variances, that 3 variances are not minor. 1, floor space index is proposed in the application. It says from 0.8 times a lot to 1.1% of the lot, which is about a 40% increase. We wouldn't be opposed to it if it increased housing for people, if there were more residences or dwellings proposed for that lot, but it's just one single family structure. The balcony is proposed to be 4 times the allowable size, and there would be 2 proposed balconies looking over our yard and our neighbor's yard, compared to currently there are no balconies. And the height, I believe it's about a 29% increase to the allowable height. This blocks sunlight for multiple yards in the afternoon, and it severely impacts on the privacy of our yards. I think the only minor variance which the applicant mentioned is the setback, which we have no problem. We fail to see why the city would approve the application that is so contrary to the bylaws and the spirit of the city's plan. Once a house of this size is built, the city and the neighborhood will never get that green space back. And we believe there's a way to build a luxury home while respecting the neighbors and neighborhood, but this applicant hasn't attempted to do this at all. Thanks.
Okay. Any questions of the speaker, panel members? No? No success reaching Sandra Hamilton?
Through you, Madam Chair, yeah, attempts were made, but we couldn't reach Sandra.
Okay, Mr. Benkowski, can you please speak to the issues that have been raised? Okay, we're just unmuting you. Just give us a second.
Yep, he's unmuted.
Sorry, could we bring up the site plan, please? So in terms of speaking of my friends at the rear, there was some issues brought up in terms of sight lines and the houses being built too close. I'm just going to wait for that site plan to come up. We could just zoom in at the rear yard setback. There is no request that is before you today for a rear yard setback variance. The proposed rear yard setback from the rear wall to the fence and which would be the property line of my friends along CEDRIC Avenue is 9.85 meters. The zoning bylaw requires 7.5 meters. So in terms of where that second floor, and remember, when we looked at the section before, we see the recessed 3rd floor. So what would be seen from my friends in the rear is a 9.85 meter rear yard setback from the rear wall to the fence. In addition, if we could go back to that section, please. Actually, the 3rd floor plan would be fine. We could just scroll down to the 3rd floor plan. Please, and then zoom in at the rear. So what we've done here is this is that 3rd floor as it would face the neighbors along CEDRIC Avenue. That 3rd floor rear wall is recessed 5.77 meters from the 2nd floor. We're talking 17 feet from the 2nd floor proposed rear wall, which again is built as per the zoning bylaw of 17 meters with the 9.85 meter rear yard setback. So that 3rd floor being set back 5.77 meters. Additionally to that, if we zoom in, we can see the balcony has actually been recessed, so it doesn't extend the full length or the full depth of that third floor. Here we see there that the third floor proposed balcony extends 10 feet. So in terms of overlook, that would not be an issue, as we have another 8'1" of roof area. And I would be happy to tie any approval to this third floor to ensure that that balcony would be built exactly as it is. So in terms of the impact of what the neighbors to the rear would see, it would be a 2-story dwelling with a third floor that has been recessed 5.77 meters. Additionally, in terms of one of my neighbors spoke of adding density, this is the replacement of a modest-sized bungalow with a family dwelling which as per provincial policy allows families to stay in place. In addition to that, there is no request for any reduction in green space that is before you today. So in terms of reducing any green space, that is not the case, as it is being done as per the zoning bylaw. And again, I'm now happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Panel members, do you have any questions? No? Okay, Mr. Benkowski, we've read all the material. I think we're ready to go into committee unless there's anything else you feel you need to add.
I think that's it, Madam Chair.
Okay. Panel members, we're taking into committee for a decision.
Yeah, well, I'd like to start with a comment. I think the neighbors on the other side of the backyard, maybe they misunderstand the plan a little bit. In her ideas that the new building will fill up the whole backyard and overlooking a 3-story building will overlooking their backyard. But as is explained by the applicant, it's actually the third floor is set back quite a lot. And also they are not asking for the rear yard setback, as plus the distance that the third floor to the neighbor's house is probably over 200 feet away. I think that the concept, the visual concept is not that accurate. And I think that there's a lot of distance between these two buildings. But if my panel members want to have a privacy screen as a condition, I will move for approval with that condition.
I believe the plans show privacy screening on the third floor.
Already?
Yeah, on
Okay.
the sides, and I don't know, it looks like the part facing the rear probably is glass of some kind. Mr. Benkowski, are you there? Can you just confirm that?
Yes, we have proposed privacy screens on the north and the south. That was shown on my, yes, as we can see here, privacy screen is shown on the north and the south.
Right, and then is it like glass facing the back, like a translucent or something, glass?
I don't believe, Madam Chair, we proposed anything at that portion rather than a standard railing, but
Okay.
it is set back that 8 foot and change from the existing second floor wall.
Okay. All right. Okay, so we're back in committee. Go ahead, Ms. Chan. Did you want to finish?
Okay, I think then maybe we do not have the condition of private screen because it's already been proposed. Right?
Yeah,
So
it's
I will
on the
move for
plans.
approval.
Okay.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, I will move for approval with no conditions.
Okay.
Maybe, just to kind of give the neighbors some comfort again, can we buy the approval of plans?
Yeah, oh yes, actually I had the same thought. Yes, they have
we'll
to
do that,
reply
yeah.
to the plans, yeah. No, that's a
I,
good idea.
just as a comment, I just wanted to, I mean, you know, the neighbors have, acknowledge their concerns. Everyone is concerned when new build goes in and overlook and safety issues, but this application isn't asking for any door length variances. They're not asking for any old height variances. So it is within that envelope of element, which we typically can support. So, but do understand the issues. And I think if we tied the approval to plans, that give the neighbors a little bit of comfort about some of the privacy issues that they've raised. So I would second your motion with that
As a
suggestion.
neighbor, I have a question. Sorry, my wife had talked.
Sorry, we're in committee. Unless one of the members wants to move to come out. And who is speaking? Sorry?
Madam Chair, we're in the middle of a motion, so.
Yeah, okay,
We need to finish them.
all right. So,
Sorry about that.
all right, so
Yeah,
the-
I'll second them. I'll just second the motion with the condition that we spoke about tying the approval to plans.
all right, so the motion is to approve the application, moved by Ms. Chan, seconded by Mr. Clay, with a condition to tie it to the plans as submitted. All in favor? Okay, the application has been approved. And to the person who was speaking, if you have any further questions, you could direct it to city staff. All right, the next item is item number 13, 232A Gledhill Avenue. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 2 photographs of 212 and 224 Gledhill, correspondence in opposition from number 240, and do we have those on the line, that person on the line?
So actually through you, Madam Chair, the agent, Elizabetta Sirdia, was on the line, but we're no longer able to reach her. And the interested party, Steve Elson, we also could not reach them.
So we're gonna hold down item 13, panel members. We've lost the agent, and we'll go to number 14 for now, and then maybe you can try to reach the agent. Okay, so we're going to go to 559 Concord Avenue. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, a covering letter from Deborah Mesher, the applicant. We have 7 form letters in support signed by 558 Concord, 1010 Ossington, as well as 540, 549, 557, 567, and 589 Concord Avenue. Do I have the agent on the line?
Yes, it's me, Deborah Mesher. I'm here.
Okay. Panel members, I don't have any speakers listed. Do you need a presentation? No? Do you have any questions of the agent? Seeing none? Okay, Ms. Mesher, we've read the material. Panel members don't have any questions. Is there anything you feel you need to add before we go into committee?
Yes, I just wanted to add that the one variance that on the surface looks like it's not minor is number 2, which is the FSI that allowed is 0.6, and we're asking for 1.33. And I just wanted to reiterate, it appears in my cover letter as well, but I want to reiterate that due to a technicality with the established grade at the front, the basement square footage has been counted. So if the basement footage weren't counted in the total of the FSI, the application would actually be more like 0.92 rather than 1.33. It looks like there's a doubling of floor space, but it's really related to that. And I just wanted to call attention to that, and I can answer any questions about that regarding the specific numbers.
Okay, thank you. I did have that in my notes also. I don't believe there are any questions, so we'll take it into committee for a decision. Any comments?
I'd like to, I can start with a comment and then I'll look through the proposal. It's actually, the proposal is between the 2 abutting neighbors. It's longer than 5. It's sort of a 561 and longer than the other one. And it's only a very small addition on the ground, on the 2nd floor, even smaller on the 3rd floor. I think. This is my notes. I'm ready for to move approval, and I don't have any big problem with this proposal.
Go ahead. I see heads nodding, so go ahead.
Okay, I'll move for approval with no conditions.
Okay, do I have a seconder, Mr. Bayat? Okay. Moved by Ms. Chan, seconded by Mr. Bayat. All in favor? Okay, your application has been approved. Thank you. Any luck reaching anyone yet? No? Okay. So we'll go to item 15, 233 Kingston Road. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. We have a previous decision affecting the subject property, correspondence in opposition from 404 Woodbine. We have support from 231 Kingston Road, which is adjacent, as well as 229 Kingston Road. And the opposition letter that we have speaks to parking. They want 2 spots. Do I have the agent on the line?
Hello, yes.
Your name for the record?
Yep, my name is Jason Fung. I am the architect on the project and speaking on behalf of the owners at 233 Kingston Road.
Alrighty, we don't have any speakers listed. Panel members, do you need a presentation? No? Any questions from Mr. Fung? Ms. Chan?
Oh, just a very quick one. I see on your site plan that you have the current 2 parkings encroaching onto 231. What?
Yes.
Is that legal?
No, so the neighbors at 231, and it says in their letter of support that they understand that there's an encroachment of these 2 existing spaces. And yeah, the 2 neighbors are in agreement that that's fine, and yeah.
They must like each other very much.
Any other questions, panel members?
But okay, in that case, those 2 parkings still be there, but they're not listed as your proposed, proposal. Is that right?
That's correct. They're existing. Yes, that's correct. They're existing spaces that we just. You will see them in the photos. They're existing spaces to remain.
Okay.
Any further questions? Mr. Clay, did you have a question?
No, I was gonna, if everyone's finished, I was gonna move a motion.
Well, that's great. Let me just make sure Mr. Fung doesn't want us to know. Is there anything else you want us to know that wasn't in the materials? We've read all the materials submitted.
Yeah, just one note that the owners purchased the property as a triplex originally in 2017. So this basement suite that we're proposing it's more of being allowed to revert the building back to being a triplex.
Okay. All right, so Mr. Clay, we're in committee. Go ahead.
Sure, sorry about that, Chair. I mean, I think my major observation on this one is that it's rental accommodation on a major street, in fact, a junction of 2 majors in the East End, and that's frankly sort of stuff that these neighborhoods should be supporting. I'm not a lawyer. I take Jim's point about the parking. You know, when you rely on the good graces of your neighbor without having a legal arrangement, when those neighbors change, that puts those at risk. So, you know, one can't count on the generosity of neighbors to allow them to park on their property forever. So you might want to figure out long-term how you rest that, frankly. But otherwise, it seems a reasonable proposal. It very much fits in with the character and the nature of the surrounding community, and I would move that we approve this application, and there are no additions.
Okay, do I have a seconder? Mr. Bayat. All right, a motion to approve, moved by Mr. Clay, seconded by Mr. Bayat. All in favor? The application has been unanimously approved. Thank you. The next item, item number 16, 47 Lynd Avenue. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, a sun study, a zoning review supporting document, correspondence in support from 6 Neepawa Avenue, as well as 21 form letters in support from 27, 31, 34, 35, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 44, 46, 48, 50, 51, 57, and 62 Lynd Avenue. as well as 50, 52, 54, and 58 Parkway Avenue. I am not showing any speakers. I think this is a really straightforward one. I don't think we need a presentation, but can the agent please identify himself for the record?
My name is Ian McDonald. I'm the architect on this project. I'm happy to answer any questions, and I could make a few brief comments if you wish.
Panel members, any questions? No? All right, well, I think we've read the material. We're ready to go into committee unless there's anything that wasn't in the material. Feel free to add. Otherwise, we're ready to take it into committee.
One small point. The neighbors to the south, I think it's 43 or 45 Lynd Avenue, did not write a letter of support, but they have voiced their verbal support for the project. It was carefully shown by our client to the neighbor, and their only issue is with construction noise. So I believe my client is planning to buy them some noise canceling headphones.
Okay.
For that purpose.
All right. Okay, thanks. Okay, we'll take it into committee.
I move for approval. I think this is a very straightforward application, and then I'm really impressed by the effort that they put in to work with the neighbors, and there's so many supports. I sort of get tired of writing them down, and I will move for approval with no conditions.
Okay, do I have a seconder? Mr. Bayat? Motion to approve, moved by Ms. Chan, seconded by Mr. Bayat. All in favor? Your application's been unanimously approved. Thank you. Any luck on the other one? No? Alrighty. So the next item is item 17, 60 Evelyn Avenue. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 15 photographs of the subject property and surrounding area, 4 digital renderings of the proposed build, correspondence in response to objections. We have 10 form letters in support from number 44, 79, 24, 47, 52, 50, 75, 77, 69, and 71 Evelyn Avenue, as well as 187 Glendowen Road. Correspondence in opposition from number 56 Evelyn. And I'm showing 1, 2, yeah, that's it. 2 speakers, and then the third one, I'm not sure. You don't have contact. Do you have contact information for that one? No? So do you have those 2 on the line?
Yes.
Okay, can I have the agent please identify himself for the record?
Hi, this is Joshua Day. I'm the owner of 60 Evelyn Avenue.
Okay, we do have 2 speakers in opposition, sir, so you have 5 minutes to make a presentation, and we'll start the clock now.
Okay. First of all, good afternoon, Madam Chair and the committee, and thanks for taking the time to hear our variance request this afternoon. We're essentially requesting 2 variances to build a new 2-story addition on the back of our property. So we'll be increasing the GFA to 82% from its current 65% and beyond the allowed 69%. This is to accommodate the addition, and it's really a result of the fact that the lot is odd shaped, and so we don't have a normal shaped lot. So if we had a normal sort of shaped lot, we'd actually be well under the GFA. And then our second variance is related to the soft landscaping. We're proposing 26%. The existing soft landscaping is actually only 10%, so we're actually doubling the green space more than doubling actually from 10.2% to 26%, but it's still below the allowable, again, given to the unusual nature of the lot shape. So we believe these variances are extremely minor and are in keeping with similar approved variances in the neighborhood. I can identify 20 different properties within the very near vicinity of our property, which have had variances in excess of what we're requesting here. I'm happy to cite those if it's helpful for the committee. And we believe these are essentially very minor variances to really, update a home that's now well over 100 years old. Plumbing, HVAC, all of these things are starting to deteriorate. So we're going to be doing that, making it more green at the same time as extending it out and making it more amenable to a modern family dwelling. So that's what the rationale and behind the two variances that we're seeking, and just thank the committee for your consideration.
Okay, thank you. Panel members, can you hold your questions till we hear from the opposition? Okay, so we'll have you back after the opposition speaks to address their concerns. Do I have the owner, the first person? Is it Aronik, the last name?
Yes, Zoriana Aronik.
Aronik. Can you? What's your address for the record?
My address is 56 Evelyn Avenue, and I share a mutual driveway and easements with number 60.
Okay, you have 5 minutes, and the clock's going to start pretty much now. We're just resetting it.
Thank you. The house, we're concerned because the houses are on a curve, and the lots are irregular, and the backyards taper off to a very small triangle. The proposed addition is going to actually take up the widest part of it, and it's going to really be completely out of sync with there'll be almost no yard, and it's just going to tower over our property. Our neighborhood has a history of flooding. I'm concerned about the fact that you are taking away from the allotted space in the yard, which is going to increase the amount of rain coming down. It comes down our mutual driveway. And right now, anytime there is a major rainstorm, it's just coming down in torrents and running down to the street. And our house is over 100 years old. It's got a rubble basement, and we are afraid of undermining and creating problems to the actual structure of the house. Second of all, I don't consider going from the allotted 0.69 times the area of the lot to the 0.82 as being a minor thing. It's going to create, if you look at our backyard, and my only way of getting into the backyard is through my side door, which is the mutual driveway and the easements. With what is going to be happening, and including this is going to be the construction site, it's going to really severely impact how we're able to use our backyard and how we're going to get into it. And with COVID, we don't have much option to running away from any of this. This is going to be something that is going to be right in our face.
Okay.
So we are concerned about also the fact that if you look at the original plan of the street, the way the backyard curved, everybody got the same, and a chance to have air, a view, some privacy, and access to light. And this is going to completely limit what we are able to get. I think the city has bylaws for a reason. And if we start disregarding them, then we're setting a dangerous precedent. There should be valid and compelling reasons for an exemption. And I don't believe that this conforms to the general intent or purpose of the city's zoning bylaws or their official plan. I think the variances are excessive, and I would respectfully request that they be scaled back to be closer to what they were originally supposed to be. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any questions of the speaker, panel members? No? Okay, thank you very much. Do I have Mr. Laverdiere on the line? Hi, are you there, sir?
Yes, good afternoon. This is David Laverdiere from 64 Evelyn Avenue. Can you hear me?
I can. We're going to start the clock now. You have 5 minutes.
Thank you. My name is David Lavaldière, MSc, PEng, and I'm an owner and reside at 64 Evelyn Avenue. I'm a professional engineer and an immediate neighbor to 60 Evelyn Avenue. I very much appreciated the approach taken by the owner of 60 Evelyn Avenue, Joshua Day, and his partner, Luis Posada, to inform me about this proposal. If the criteria used to determine my support for the proposal were based on the friendliness and likability of the people involved, the decision would be an easy one. That said, I needed to consider the proposed construction in terms of the impacts it would likely have to my property and to my right to the enjoyment of my backyard. The houses at 56, 60, and 64 Evelyn Avenue are on a curve, resulting in irregular pie-shaped lots. The houses are all constructed in a manner such that the placement on the lots are aligned along the curve. The back corners of my home at 64 Evelyn Avenue and the home at 60 Evelyn Avenue are set back at approximately the same distance from the street, and the homes are located quite close together. The backyards start at the same point, giving each home access to light, air, a view, and backyard space. If the construction were to proceed as proposed, my right to the enjoyment of my backyard would be affected, the light and sun I enjoy when I barbecue my lunch would be destroyed, and the spacious open feeling within and between the yards would be eliminated. There are 2 mature red eastern cedar trees in good health, taller than our houses, and approximately 40 years old along the property line adjacent to the fence and located only a few feet from the back corner of my house. My backyard was designed around these trees. If 60 Evelyn Avenue were extended, it was very likely that the existing cedar trees would not survive, as the entire half of the branches would need to be cut to make way for the addition, and damage to the root systems would occur during construction of the foundation. City staff from the forestry branch has determined that one of the trees has a diameter of 28 centimeters, just short of the 30 centimeters required for protection under City of Toronto bylaws. The proposed 2-story rear addition for 60 Evelyn Avenue does not comply with the limits set out in bylaws for the floor space index of 0.69 times the area of the lot and a rear yard soft landscaping minimum of 50% because the lot size, and in particular the rear portion, is not sufficiently large enough to do so. The proposal is to take the floor space index, or FSI, above 0.69 to 0.82, an exceedance of 19%, and the rear yard soft landscaping, or RYSL, below 50% to 26%. When the owner revealed his plans for expansion of his home to neighbors to solicit their support for his addition, he reported that there were more than 29 approvals in the area with similar conditions. I obtained the Committee of Adjustment decision notices from the surrounding area within a 500-meter radius for the last 15 years. My analysis of the decision notices determined that there was only one 2-story rear addition in the area that sought to not comply with the bylaws for the FSI and the RYSL minimum percentage. In this case, the owner was approved to exceed the 0.69 FSI by 23% to 0.85, but only failed to meet the minimum RYSL by a few percentage points to 44%. Certainly not as dramatic as 26%. There was another approval that needed to go below 50% minimum RYSL, but it only needed to go to 44%, and while it also needed to exceed the FSI by more than 19%, it was only for a 1-story rear addition. The only other project that impacted the RYSL and did so to as little as 26% was for an approval of a 2-story rear addition with rear deck, but it did not need to exceed the limit for the FSI. The data demonstrates that the combination of the lack of compliance of the FSI and RYSL to as little as 26% for a 2-story addition is unprecedented in the area. There were another 6 approvals for 2-story rear additions that exceeded the bylaw limits for FSI by greater than 19%. And in one of every one of those cases, rear yard soft landscaping was not an issue. There were another 8 approvals for 2-story rear additions that exceeded limits for FSI, but none approached the 19% being sought for by 60 Evelyn Avenue. And of the 8, there were only 3 that only exceeded by 3%. There were 2 2-story rear additions that were also building off the front that needed approval to exceed the FSI, and only one needed to do so by 8%, while the other exceeded by greater than 19%. With the information provided in the records, it is not possible to assign which portion of the FSI is attributable to the rear
Excuse me.
two-story additions for the
You're over 5 minutes, David, so I need you to wrap up, please.
Okay. Therefore, to make a comparison for what would really constitute a similar situation, there are really no comparables, as this proposal is unprecedented. But if you include all two-story additions that exceed the FSI by the same amount as 60 Evelyn, or greater, reminding that only one needed to miss the RSL minimum percentage, there are really only 13 projects, not 26. I would therefore move that the committee rescind these letters of support from the neighbors because they were approved under a false pretense.
Okay, thank you. Panel members, any questions of the speaker? Seeing none. Mr. Day, are you there?
Oh.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you
Okay.
now. Sorry, it takes
Yeah.
a second to unmute you. I need you to only address the issues that have been raised by the opposition.
Okay, there were a lot of them.
Well, yeah.
So let's start. And please let me know if I missed any. First, let me say that we did consult both the owners at 56 and 64 Evelyn in writing on the 15th of January. We had a 90-minute Zoom call with the owners of 64 Evelyn on the 24th of January, where we reviewed the plans with them. And we also tried to have a meeting with the owners at 56 Evelyn Avenue on the 23rd of January. So all through this process, we have sought to involve our neighbors and be completely transparent in terms of what we are trying to do and what we are trying to achieve here. And we're settling into this community for a long time, and our goal here is to really make our home a livable place for us. I just wanted to say that. Let me start with the concern around rainwater. So in our current proposal, we're actually increasing the green space from 9.32 meters to 9 meters squared to 19.66 meters squared. We currently have only hardscaping in our backyard, which is one of the main things that we're attempting to alleviate right now by adding trees and greenery and frankly turning our backyard into a beautiful garden and green space. So we'll actually be increasing the ability of our backyard to absorb rainwater. So we consider that objection from our neighbors at 56 to be without merit. They have also highlighted that, and I'm not entirely sure I'm understanding the concern here, and the committee can help me out if I'm getting it wrong, but concerns about the light and the air. The neighbors are at 56 are directly to the south of us. Unless the sun has changed its position in the sky, it's actually their house that blocks our house from getting sun and light, not the other way around. So again, we consider that objection to be without merit. With regards to our neighbors from number 64, so two things. Urban Forestry did come out and did say that the trees are too small for it to be of concern for Urban Forestry. On a meeting with my neighbor on the 8th and 9th of May, the 9th of May, I indicated that we would endeavor to preserve the trees, and I'm prepared to bring an arborist in to do what we can to preserve those. And if not, that I would graciously offer to replace trees that frankly are overgrown and probably need to be removed anyway. So that I think touches on the trees. With respect to the unprecedented variances, I'm not sure if we have a lot of letters of support from our neighbors. They were not done under false pretenses. So I'm not sure the committee would even consider rescinding them, but I hope that is not a good consideration. But I'm happy to cite all 29 individual variances from the neighborhood. I can give an example if it's helpful for the committee. 202 Clendenin Avenue, altered dwelling gross floor area of 0.92 times to the lot area and that was approved August 13th, 2015. I can go through and list all 29, but I'll defer to the committee whether that's necessary or not.
No, it's not, sir.
Okay, thank you. But this is certainly not without precedent. It's actually significantly below what has been done in many homes in our neighborhood. And, with that, I would respectfully ask the committee to motion to approve this, under the understanding that we will continue as we go through the process to engage, in spite of what's going on here, engage them in the construction, let them know about our plans, the dates, all of that about, I have no intention of being spiteful. We will continue to engage and be transparent entirely throughout the process. I thank the committee for hearing those points.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Day. And with respect to the letters, the committee does not rescind letters. Either individuals rescind them, but we don't rescind that. Panel members, do you have any questions? Mr. Clay?
Sure, thank you. I was just noticing, well, not noticing, but your first variance is about the landscaping, and you are proposing to increase the amount of soft landscaping already from what currently exists, which looks like it's pretty much brick throughout your entire backyard. I did notice also that you're proposing to install a patio off the rear your new addition, and I just wondered whether, knowing as we know now that permeable pavers are coming increasingly in all sorts of designs and styles and attractive kind of configurations, wondering if you would be open to considering using permeable pavers. If the committee approves your application, you would be open to using permeable, which would, I think, add to the absorption in your backyard.
Can the committee hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, go ahead.
So sorry, I don't know when I'm muted or not. Absolutely, we certainly consider that. We're certainly considering other options as well, to really enhance the green space, including a green wall. So we're looking at lots of options I personally love green space, so really want to maximize the amount of green space. So it's certainly something that we would consider.
Okay, Ms. Chan, did you have a question?
Sorry, Larry already asked my question. I looked at the site plan. They are already proposing new pavers, and maybe those would be permeable pavers.
Okay, Mr. Bayat, did you have a question?
Just a comment. I feel for all three parties that they've got a very unusual lots, and so it presents visually certainly an unusual circumstance to be overcome. However, as far as the requested variances are concerned, that's what we're dealing with. I don't see any reason to oppose the application.
Okay, any other questions? No? All right, panel members, we'll take it into committee then. I would just note that there are no variances for setbacks, rear yard setback, side yard setback, and that the first variance is actually going from 0% to 26%.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. I think you're right, and I agree with here. There are only two variances in front of us, and frankly, the modest. And I think what I heard the applicant say was a willingness to install permeable pavers. That's probably the best option, and one at least that we could put a condition in to require that. And I think it sounds they'd be amenable to that. I think the addition is modest in scale and scope and massing, and it is, Zahir says, it's a very unusual lot, very unusual. But I thought the addition seemed responsible in I think the applicant made very good points about the nature of development and redevelopment in the neighborhood and the types of things that are happening. So I don't see this application being out of character with neighborhood, and I think it fits in the context of what the family is proposing. So I too would be here to support this application.
Okay, is that a motion, or does anybody
Sure,
else?
I'm happy, Zahir, unless you make a motion? You want me to, okay, sure, I'll approve, I'll move approval of the application. There are conditions. Oh, excuse me.
With the condition?
With my condition.
Yeah.
With my condition that, for the backyard patio, that the construction be done, permeable pavers.
Okay, and Mr. Bayat, you're seconding that motion? Okay.
Yes, I do. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve, including a condition that the patio be constructed with permeable pavers, moved by Mr. Clay, seconded by Mr. Bayat. All in favor? Okay, the application's been unanimously approved. Okay, thanks everyone for speaking. Did we find that agent now? All right. Okay, we're going back to item number 13, which is 232A Gledhill Avenue. And give me a second. All right. What about the speaker? Do you have them or just the agent?
The speaker is also on the line, I believe.
Yeah? Okay. Just give me a second here. Okay. All right. So this is 232A Gledhill Avenue. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. 2 photographs of number 212 and 224 Gledhill. We have correspondence in opposition from 240 Gledhill. And I believe opposition was regarding structural matters, character, and having a have half of it look different than the other half. Okay, can I have the agent, can you please identify yourself?
Good afternoon. My name is Elizabeth Chula, and I'll be representing the owner of 232A Gledhill Avenue regarding to our motion for today.
Okay, we do have a speaker in opposition, so you have no more than 5 minutes to do a presentation. We'll start the clock now.
Thank you. So the main variance will be to convert this existing 1 unit into to add 1 more story in converting the two units, and by just adding a second story with a front balcony. The owner already discussed with the neighbor on the left-hand side, and he agreed with the development. He might do it the same later on. The median walls will be fire rated, and the shape of the second floor will follow pretty much the same what is there right now. The median wall will be a little bit above the new. So I think that will cover the construction, the structural item that you already mentioned. The spacing will be siding will be narrow siding, similar to what the neighbor has on the right hand side, I mean 234 Avenue or Gledhill Avenue. So I don't want to keep it longer than this, so I'm willing to answer the question.
Okay. Panel members, do you want to hold your questions till we hear from the opposition? Okay. We'll have you back after the opposition speaks, Ms. Giordea. Mr. Elson, are you on the line?
Hello?
Hi. Can you just identify yourself, name, and address for the record?
Oh, okay. It's Steve Elson, E-L-S-O-N, at 240 Gledhill.
Alrighty, you have 5 minutes starting now, sir.
Okay, really I'm not 100% opposed. I just want to make sure everything has been done properly. It is attached to an existing dwelling, so I don't know how they're going to get around building a house that is attached to another house without disturbing the other neighbor. And visually, you've got one half of the house is a short peaked roof bungalow with a pyramid roof, and then they're going to put a flat wall across the existing dividing line of the house, which is going to be a whole floor above it. There's also the shared chimney, which is an issue. I don't know how they're going to do that and build that without disrupting the original dwelling. But it also is dividing into 2 units. It's adding an extra unit, which means basement apartment. I just want to make sure that that is to code. Other than that, if everything's done properly, again, it's all in what I listed there. The facade of the house is brick across both units, of course, both houses. How are they going to reface the renovation? I just don't see how they can do it without it looking like a dog's breakfast, to be honest with you. But that's it. That's all I got to say on that one. It's as long as everything's done right, no problem, really.
Well, that's going to be up to the building department to enforce the building code requirements. The committee only deals with the variances, but I'll have the agent address some of your concerns here. Okay, thank you very much.
Yep, it was all written down. Thank you.
Okay. Panel members, do you have any questions of the speaker? No? Okay. Ms. Shiordea, are you there?
Yes, yes.
All right, can you please address the concerns that were just expressed in terms of what it's going to look like and whatnot?
So as mentioned before, structure-wise, the building code will take care of that before getting a permit in place. Visual-wise, as I said, the second floor will be siding as the neighbor on the right-hand side. I mean, the one that already did the second floor. That will be 234 GLEDHILL. Then the roof will follow pretty much the same shape that is there now, just want to be higher, and also the neighbor will do that later on when they will have the funds for that, and they're okay with this for now. Also, regarding the basement, there will be a second unit in the basement. I'm just talking as a second unit for the second floor. There won't be any bedrooms or anything in the basement. There will be the renovation of the basement.
Okay, panel members, do you have any questions of the agent? Mr. Bayat.
Good afternoon. Just a couple of questions. You know, when I'm thinking this is as the previous speaker suggested, we've got a semi-detached house. How do you propose, and this is, you know, construction question, I suppose, for you. How do you propose putting in a separating wall? And the dividing wall currently, is that a brick structure, or is it, you know, drywall or lathe attached? My concern always is that you're going to have a fairly solid wall against the roof of your neighbor. And it looks like it's north facing, which suggests that, you know, come winter, you get snow piling up against your wall in your neighbor's roof. What precautions are being taken to ensure that the neighbor's property is not going to be adversely affected?
Hello?
Yes, I don't know if you're
sorry.
Yes, so the medium wall is already a brick wall in there. So once they remove the roof of the 232A, they will start building up this wall on top of the existing one and isolating the neighbor. So after that, they will continue with the rest of the remaining of the second floor. So they will build first this floor, and then they will continue with the second floor properly. And this wall won't be straight. Will follow as I'm showing on the side elevation, will follow the slope of the roof. So it will be just a straight wall. Will be following the slope of the roof.
Does that answer your question?
I hope it works out.
Can I make a comment? And I think all these structural issues and also building code issues, also that preventing them to create any damage to the next door neighbor, they have reinforced all that. So we'll be taken care of when they apply for building permit. As to the explanation by the applicant, I don't understand that either. So we probably should just rely on the building department. Of course, they will have to pass OBC and structural requirement, everything.
Okay, any other questions, panel members? Okay, let's take it into committee then. Any discussion?
Sorry, go ahead, Mim.
Okay. I do. There are 3 variances in front of us, and then of course a lot of concern about constructions, and I'm so sure that there will be down the road they have to clear all that. And I would like to move for approval with no conditions.
Yeah, I'm happy to second a comment. I mean, I just wanted to acknowledge the caller's perspective. And, you know, when we do have additions to semis, sometimes they usually put them happening at the back or other sort of things. It's going to be an unusual construction, and it is going to look a little different. We always, I think, like to hear from the adjoining semi-owner, and in this case, there's nothing on record, so one can only assume that the adjoining semi-owner is not uncomfortable with that project. I think the applicant mentioned that that owner was okay with it and planning to do something similar in the future. So just acknowledging that sometimes these things are a little unusual looking, but as Jim says, these variances are actually quite minor, and so I'm prepared to second her motion.
Okay, I have a motion to approve the application, moved by Ms. Chan, seconded by Mr. Clay. All in favor? Okay, and the application's approved, and Mr. Bayat did not participate in the vote, if you can just make note of that. Okay, so the application's been approved. Yeah. Do you want to break now? It's, oh, we have 15 minutes, so that's fine. Okay. Sorry, just let me finish my note here. Okay. All right. So we're now going to go to number 18, which is 5 Rexford Road. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. We have 3 form letters in support, signed by number 1 and 15 and 9 Rexford Road. Okay, is the agent on the line?
Yes.
Can you just identify yourself for the record, please?
Yes, my name is Pamela Pan. Good afternoon first.
Hi, thanks.
My name is Pamela Pan. I'm at 16 Rexford Road.
All right, thank you. Panel members, I don't have any speakers, and this is pretty straightforward, I think. I don't think we need a presentation. Do any of you have any questions of the agent? Seeing none? Okay, Ms. Pan, we've read all the material, and we're actually ready to take it into committee. Is there anything that's not in what was submitted that you want to add before we go into committee?
No.
Okay, we'll take it into committee for a decision, panel members.
Okay, I'm ready to move for approval, and I look at the look through the materials, and I think the proposal and the variances, the minor variances, and then pass the forecast. I move for approval with no conditions.
Okay, do I have a seconder? Mr. Bayat. Motion to approve, moved by Ms. Chan, seconded by Mr. Bayat. All in favor? Your application has been unanimously approved. Thank you. Okay, we'll now go 19, 67 to 69 Richmond Street West. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. We have a covering letter from Mr. Francic, the agent. We have a noise impact assessment from Aeroacoustics Engineering, presentation materials, and we have correspondence in support from the Executive Director of the Toronto Financial District's BIA. Can I have the agent please identify himself for the record?
Good afternoon, it's Andrew Franchik, the agent for this matter.
Okay, stand by 1 second. Do we have the person who's got concerns on the line? Okay, Mr. Francic, we do have somebody who has some concerns. Can you do a very brief presentation, please? No more than 5 minutes, and we'll start the clock now.
Certainly, I'd be pleased to do that. The proposal before you is for the expansion to a permitted patio on the west and south side of 67 Richmond. This is in the downtown financial district. And today, that area is effectively a privately owned alleyway. And you can see from the rendering that was submitted that the concept is to provide for a significant improvement to the appearance and the safety of the space through its repurposing as a patio associated with Unit B. And there's also a rendering that shows that. As shown, based on the current zoning, almost the entire area could be used as of right for patio space already, given that the units in the, there are 2 units in the building, and that would equate to about a 240 square meter patio. But the proposal is to enlarge that by a very little bit, by about 74 square meters in addition to what is permitted, and essentially to fill out the remainder of the private alley on the south side, and the total area of the patio would be 315 square meters. So to summarize, the benefits of the proposal would be that it will help to enliven this part of the financial district along Richmond Street and along the public lane. And it's especially relevant given the current circumstances with respect to the pandemic and, of course, restrictions on indoor dining. And it will help to support the struggling restaurant and entertainment industry as it recovers from COVID-19. And I note that there's also a letter of support from the BIA to that effect.
Okay.
I'd be happy to answer any of the questions you have.
I think we'll hold our questions till we hear from the speaker. Okay, do you have, okay, Mr. Kalisperas?
Hello?
Hi, are you there?
Yes. Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, do you have anything running in the
Hello?
background? Can you turn your volume down a bit?
Sure, is that okay now?
Yeah, that's much better. The echo's gone now. Almost. No, not
Okay,
quite.
perfect. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Michael Kalisperas. I'm with Royal Grand Property Management. I manage the condominium at 73 Richmond Street West. Plus, I'm also an owner in quite a few units in the building next door. My concern is, for the last 20 years since we've been a condominium corporation, that laneway in the back, we've always had access to the private laneway in the back. Our gas meter is there, and our fresh air intake is there, and our combustion air intake is there for our boilers. Now, we need to have 24-hour unencumbered access to a gas meter in the event of a rupture, in the event something goes wrong with the gas. We can't have doors closing off laneways. Like I see there could be a door on Richmond, and there could be a door, some kind of access in the other part of the private laneway. So as a condominium, we're not against this patio or anything of that nature. All I need is 100% assurances. If I have a gas break, then no one's gonna tell me that there's a busy restaurant and we can't have access. And I see the drawings right now. They plan on putting a kiosk right beside my gas meter and gas main and my fresh air intake. So we don't even know how they ended up owning this alleyway. For years it was a public alleyway. I don't know, no one ever consulted with us that they were able to take it over. And that was always an alleyway for servicing needs of all the buildings and the back of our, and the east of our building. That's what my concerns is. And then with the patio built, I would not be able to service part of my building. Like if I need windows to be replaced, you know, I need to get access. I need to get a swing stage or something of that nature. So my building will need maintenance at one point in time. I'm going to need to replace a window, but we need access agreements, not on their terms. They need access agreements on our terms, that we need 24 hours unencumbered access for the safety of the building, for the gas meter and our combustion air, for the fresh air into the boiler room.
Okay, well,
That's all I have to say.
well, let's see what Mr. Francic has to say. Are you there, sir?
Thank you. Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Thank you. My client has had discussions with the condo board at 73 Richmond with respect to various matters between neighbors. My client Dream has every intention to continue to provide appropriate access to whatever's currently accessible to that space. It's not being built with a building to block those areas. It will be a patio, which will basically repurpose the existing outdoor space for something nicer. And the configuration of what you see there is subject to change, given that a tenant has not yet been secured for that restaurant. So, that the kiosk wouldn't necessarily be in the exact location. So basically, from an access perspective, nothing would change here for the condo. They'd still have to obviously get permission to go onto private land, and this is private land. In fact, 69 Richmond, where it fronts onto Richmond, used to be a building. There used to be a 2 or 3 story building there back in the day. It got demolished, and since that time, it's basically turned into an alley. But it's a private alley that links to, you can see it noted there, a public laneway on the right-hand side. That's public, but the L-shaped lane is private. So it's essentially private land, despite having the appearance of an alley. So I hope that responds to the comment adequately.
Okay, panel members, do you have any questions for Mr. Francic? Ms. Chan?
Yes, I have a quick question. It's not related to just the issue of race, but it's all related to the variances. The two, if number 2 is granted, you're allowed to have 93.75%. Do you still need number 1? Because I know number 1 has got an expiring date, so that's why I make it less needed.
Exactly, and we actually we spoke with planning staff about this. So the interesting thing is that because of COVID-19, Council instituted the emergency patio expansion bylaw, which was then renewed last year until I believe it's April 2022. So it made things a little confusing because we have to ask for a variance to that bylaw, the 910-2020 bylaw, as well as 569-2013. And the difference between those two is that one has a 30% sort of cap on the patio space, whereas the new bylaw, temporary to assist with COVID-19, is 50%. And that's the difference. So we, out of really an abundance of caution, we wanted to make sure that if that bylaw continues to be extended, and we've confirmed with staff that no matter how many times it gets extended, this variance will remain valid.
Yeah, that's what it's just a caution, right? It's a but then you're asking for more than that anyway. It's going to be like the square footage, the percentage is almost 93%, right? So
yeah, but the reason for that, if I could respond to that, is, and if you see the application package that we submitted with the comparisons shown between as of right and proposed, it's actually a lot less than that because there's 2 units in this building which each could have a patio, and if you add those 2 areas up now, they could cover 240 square meters. And so the application is basically not to allow Unit A to have a patio, but instead Unit B is going to have a bigger patio. And so the variance is just to make up for the difference between that combined patio and what's left of the private alley.
Any other questions, panel members? No? Okay, we'll take it into committee.
I'll just make an observation. The application was a noise impact assessment, and this is part of the entertainment district, and noise being a bit of an issue and an irritant, particularly to residents who live down there. And I noticed that the noise impact assessment included that there would be no detrimental impact on the surrounding area. So I think that's the important, we didn't talk about that, but I think that's an important consideration for this application.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, we'll need a motion then.
I'm ready to move for approval. I think that it's reasonable to ask for the outdoor dining now, and then I think it is quite a unique site, and then it's surrounded by tall commercial buildings and towers, and I think I'm in support of it, and I move for approval.
Okay. All right, motion to approve, moved by Ms. Chan, seconded by Mr. Bayat. All in favor? The application's been unanimously approved. We have to switch over the YouTube at 5:30, so instead of cutting people off in the middle, let's take 5, 6, 7 minutes so that they can do the